Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the Sports Law Conference. I'm Celeste Low, a member of the Greater China Legal Affairs Committee of the Law Society of Hong Kong.
And I am Adrian Lok, member of the Arbitration Committee of the Law Society of Hong Kong. It is our honor to be your MCs for today's conference.
The Law Society of Hong Kong is proud to present a groundbreaking mega event, the first of this kind dedicated to discussion about the interface between sports, law, and business against the backdrop of one country, two systems, and three jurisdictions.
This mega event consists of 3 sub-events: the Sports Law Conference, the 15th Recreation and Sports Night, and the 9th Guangdong Hong Kong Macau Lawyers Sports Meet. We're excited to kick things off with the inaugural Sports Law Conference themed Be a Good Sport.
The conference will feature discussion on a series of sports-related topics, including visionary pointers on issues such as intellectual property, media rights, broadcasting rights, innovation, and youth development. How the legal profession can help unlock the value of sports as an industry. The current and potential development of G-sports industry and associated legal issues, and avenues and mechanisms for resolving increasingly complicated sports disputes.
It is our pleasure to gather speakers and audience from different jurisdictions. Today's conference is not only available online to participants worldwide, the opening session is also broadcast live to the general public in Hong Kong on RTHK. As a warm reminder, on-site participants who wish to review all the memorable moments of today's conference may scan the QR code at the foyer or on the back of your badge to browse the instant photo gallery. Next to it is another QR code leading to the digital booklet of the conference and other information about the sports law mega events.
Before we continue, I would like to remind everyone that we are offering simultaneous interpretation services for this event. For those who are joining us via Zoom, please make sure you select your preferred language channel. And for guests here today in person, interpretation headsets are available at the registration desk.
To begin with, let's take a moment to watch a short video that highlights the fascinating world of sports law.
Hello. Be a good sport. Sports is a key emphasis in the Chief Executive's 2024 policy address. The Law Society of Hong Kong is organizing a groundbreaking sports law mega event, the first of its kind, dedicated to discussions about the interface among sports, law, and business against the backdrop of one country, two systems, and 3 jurisdictions. The event will take place from 20th to 23rd of February 2025 and consists of 3 sub-events. Sports Law Conference. It features various heavyweight speakers to deliberate the interface among sports, law, and business. 15. Recreation and Sports Night. Fully dressed up, participants will enjoy a night of networking in a formal yet relaxed atmosphere. 9th Guangdong Hong Kong Macau Lawyers Sports Meet. Lawyers will engage in fair competition in a wide range of sports. This mega event will be a milestone in the field of sports law. Your participation is essential as we explore how to leverage law to foster the growth of sports industry and build a fair and prosperous sporting environment together. I sincerely invite your participation in this mega event.
What provided an impressive video about Hong Kong as a vibrant city and the Law Society's Sports Law mega event.
To kickstart the conference, please join me in welcoming Mr. Roden Tong, President of the Law Society of Hong Kong, to give his speech. President, please.
The Honorable Mrs. Regina Yip, the Honorable Miss Rosanna Law, who will be, Miss Law just arrived. Thank you. Miss Chin, Charles, Vivian, distinguished speakers and guests, fellow members, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my distinct honor to welcome you all to the inaugural Sports Law Conference. Today marks a significant milestone for both the legal and sports communities in Hong Kong. This conference is a testament to our commitment to fostering a robust legal framework that supports the dynamic sports industry. 體育強，則國家強。Strong sports build a strong nations. A thriving sports sector not only promotes physical health and well-being, but also fosters a sense of community, pride, and national identity. Sports have the power to unite people from diverse backgrounds, creating a shared sense of purpose and friendship. They serve as a platform for showcasing talent, discipline, and sportsmanship, qualities that are essential for national development. When athletes excel on the global stage, they bring honor and recognition to their country, inspiring future generations to strive for excellence. Sports also play a crucial role in enhancing global influence by fostering connections across cultures and nations. At the inaugural Lawrence World Sports Award in 2000, Nelson Mandela eloquently remarked, "Sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in the way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers. It laughs in the face of all types of discriminations." It is invaluable that sports serve as a universal language, transcending barriers of language, geography, and ideology. Major sporting events like Olympics and World Cup bring together diverse populations, promoting unity and shared experience. This interaction reinforces the power of sport as a unifying force in the world. Additionally, sports can drive economic growth and tourism, opening doors for both local and international business partnerships. Major sporting events being significant economic impact, boosting business and infrastructure development. By establishing Hong Kong as a center for major sports events, we can elevate our global profile and draw international attention. In fact, based on the latest available statistics, the sports and related industry rank among the fastest growing sectors in Hong Kong, contributing approximately Hong Kong 38 billion in business value and employing 74,000 individuals, accounting for 2.1% of total employment in our vibrant city. Globally, the sports market size has grown strongly in recent years. According to the Global Sports Innovation Center, the global sports market valued at almost $388.3 billion in 2020
and it's expected to go by 9.1%, reaching almost US dollar 600 billion in 2025 and US dollar 826 billion in 2030. This growth presents immense opportunities for legal professionals to play a pivotal role in shaping the futures of sports. The groundbreaking Sports Law Conference was conceived after a visit by the Law Society Council to Beijing in April 2024. Among the esteemed authorities we met was the General Administration of Sport of China, where we were graciously received by Mr. Wu Jin, Director General of International Department. A pivotal insight from our discussions was that Hong Kong's diverse array of legal and dispute resolution services can significantly boost sports development at all levels, thereby laying a robust legal foundation for the growth, integrity, and sustainability of the sports industry. The idea of this conference was born out of a shared vision to create a platform where legal professionals, sports industry, stakeholders, and policymakers could come together to address the unique challenges and opportunities within the realm of sports law. Sports law transcends mere regulations of athletic activities. It encompasses both contentious and non-contentious issues vital to the industry's functioning. At the International Conference on Sports Law in November 2024, I was privileged to hear Ms. Yasora Tipper's former world champion in floor fencing, who shared her compelling journey through her legal intricacy of her anti-doping case. Sports law actually encompasses a broad spectrum of legal matters, including personality rights, sportsmanship agreements, intellectual property, media rights, and broadcasting contracts. Additionally, disputes surrounding competition practice, athletic rights, and governance underscore the necessity for clear and efficient resolution mechanisms. The significance of sports law has garnered considerable public attention, as highlighted in the 2024 policy address. In response, the Law Society is hosting a pioneer sports law mega event, the first of its kind, dedicated to exploring the intersection of sports, law, and business within the unique context of one country, two systems, and three jurisdictions. It takes the form of three interconnected events: this Sports Law Conference, the 15th Recreation and Sports Night Gala Dinner tonight, the 9th Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Lawyer Sports Meet, with its golfing event have taken place yesterday, and other sporting events running from tomorrow to Sunday. This mega initiative seeks to chart the new frontiers in advocating for sports as a transformative force for both the legal profession and Hong Kong as a whole. Last month, the Law Society made a submission in response to the government's consultation on the budget for 2025 to 2026. As sports law intersects with numerous sectors, we advocate for the establishment of a dedicated high-performance unit, integrating personnel and resources from various government departments. This unit will focus exclusively on promoting sports development, thereby maximizing its impact. Moreover, adequate funding is essential to create a comprehensive legal framework that safeguards the rights of athletes and stakeholders, ensures fair competition, and upholds the integrity of sports. We believe this approach will not only strengthen Hong Kong's legal infrastructure, but also position the city as a premier destination for major sporting events. As articulated in Chief Executive's 2024 policy address, the Mega Events Coordination Group, led by the Deputy Financial Secretary, will actively pursue opportunities to attract significant events to Hong Kong. For our Sports Law Mega Event, we have strategically scheduled the opening ceremony and key competitions of the 9th Guangdong Hong Kong Macau Lawyer Sports Meet at the new Kaita Sports Park, set to officially open on 1st of March 2025. The biennial sporting event unites hundreds of lawyers from 3 jurisdictions promoting the rule of law, justice, and sportsmanship. As we explore the multi-phase dimensions of sports law, the Law Society acknowledged both the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead for the legal profession. Today, we are honored to host an impressive array of speakers, including legal professionals, high-ranking officials, policymakers, legislators, and Olympic gold medalist, Vivian, business leaders, esports developers, and solicitor sports arbitrators. Some have traveled from the mainland, France, and Switzerland, bringing diverse perspectives as we engage in meaningful discussions. I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who made this event possible. Special thanks go to the Law Society Sports Law Mega Event Organizing Committee for their meticulous planning and dedication in crafting a comprehensive conference program. I also extend our gratitude to our sponsors and supporting organizations whose generosity and commitment have been instrumental to bring this event to fruition. This year's theme, Be Just, Be a Good Sport, embodies our mission to promote fairness, integrity, and sportsmanship. It aligns seamlessly with the values we strive to uphold in both the legal profession and the sports community. I would also like to thank our Sports Law Committee for their invaluable contribution and extend special thanks to our past president and member of the Roll of Honor, Mr. Hyun Wong, for proposing this brilliant theme. Thank you for joining us today and over the next 2 days for the Sports Law Mega event. A robust sports sector is integral to community unity and national strength. I encourage each of you to actively engage in the discussion and share your expertise. Your contributions are vital to the success of this conference and to the advancement of sports law in Hong Kong and beyond. Together, let us collaborate to drive progress in sports law and make a meaningful impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tong. Please remain on stage. May I now invite distinguished speakers of the opening session and chairman of the organizing committee of the Sports Law Mega event to come to the stage for a group photo. May I now invite the Honorable Mrs. Regina Ip, GBM, GBS, JP, convener of non-official members of the Executive Council and member of the Legislative Council. Ms. Rosanna Law Sokpui, JP, Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, the Government of the HKSAR. Ms. Vivian Kong, MH, Gold Medal winner, Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Mr. Ronald Sum, JP, Arbitrator of Court of Arbitration for Sports, Arbitrator of China Commission of Arbitration for Sports, Council member of the Law Society of Hong Kong, and Chairman of the Organizing Committee of Sports Law Mega Event.
Let's take a group photo first. Thank you. Would you all please remain on stage? We will now kick off this conference with a simple yet meaningful ceremony. May we invite the following guests of honor to come up on stage to join us for this moment that we are all looking forward to.
Professor the Honorable Priscilla Leung Mayfen, GBS JP, member of the Legislative Council Election Committee. The Honorable Duncan Chiu, member of the Legislative Council, Functional Constituency, Technology and Innovation.
Ms. Zhou Qian, Director General of the Department of Treaty and Law, Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Hong Kong SAR. Ms. Melissa K. Pang, BBS MH JP, Chairman of the Agency for Volunteer Service, the assisting organization of the Hong Kong Volunteer Program of the 15th National Games.
Mr. Ho Lik Chi Nicholas, Commissioner for Belt and Road. And Dr. Thomas So JP, Chairman of IBRAM International Online Dispute Resolution Center. the photographers for the group photo, please. Thank you. And now, on the count of 3, we would like to invite our esteemed guests to put their hands on the golden bubbles displayed on the screen.
This ceremony represents our shared commitment to advancing the development of the sports industry and sports law.
Are you all ready? 1, 2, 3.
With this ceremony, let's celebrate our shared passion for sports and the law, igniting the spirit of today's event together.
Thank you very much. Please remain on the stage. Next, we would like to invite the following guests to join us on the stage. Mr. Hun Wong, SBS BBS JP, past president of the Law Society of Hong Kong and member of the Roll of Honor. Professor Liu Song, Deputy Director of China Commission of Arbitration for Sports and Arbitrator of Court of Arbitration for Sport. Dr. An Zhou-zhi, Arbitrator of Court of Arbitration for Sports and Arbitrator and Vice Chair of Appointment Committee of China Commission of Arbitration and Sports.
Mr. Simon Bai, Arbitrator of the Court of Arbitration for Sport and Arbitrator of the China Commission of Arbitration for Sport. Mr. David Wu, Vice Chairman of the China Association for Sports Law, Standing Member of the China Commission of Arbitration for Sport, Chairman of the News Committee, China Commission of Arbitration for Sport, and Arbitrator of the Court Arbitration for Sport. And last but not least, let us welcome all council members, speakers, and moderators. Let's take a group photo to record this remarkable moment. Okay, let's take a photo now. To record this remarkable event, let's take a few more pictures together.
Thank you very much, everyone. Please be seated.
At today's conference, we are pleased to have Ibrahim as the Law Tech Partner of the Sports Law Mega event, providing instant transcription service as shown on the screen.
Without further delay, let's start the opening session. Sports for Hong Kong, Hong Kong for sports. Why and how to begin? Our distinguished speakers will provide an overview on the vision of the Sports Law Conference and tells us how sports can be a game changer for the legal profession and for Hong Kong.
First of all, we would like to welcome the convener of the non-official members of the Executive Council and member of Legislative Council, the Honorable Mrs. Regina Ip Lau Sok Yi, to come on stage and share her insights. Mrs. Ip, please.
President Roden, Secretary Rosanna, distinguished guests and speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. At the start of the auspicious year of the snake, let me begin by wishing everyone a very successful and fulfilling year ahead. It is my great pleasure to have the opportunity to speak at the Hong Kong Law Society's Sports Law Conference, which I understand is the first ever one country, two systems, three jurisdictions sports law conference held in China. I wish to congratulate the office bearers of the Hong Kong Law Society for putting together this amazing gathering. You could not have done so at a better time, because Hong Kong is at the threshold of a new and illustrious chapter of our sports history. With the imminent opening of the Kai Tak Sports Park, Hong Kong is on track to assume its pole position as a major sports hub. Thanks to strong support from government and the indefatigable efforts of Hong Kong's athletes, our athletes have performed remarkably well in international games and competitions, winning countless medals and much kudos for Hong Kong. Even though Hong Kong's climate is subtropical and we rarely see snow, Team Hong Kong has again displayed exemplary sporting spirit in the recently concluded Asian Winter Games. Hong Kong is playing host to a growing diversity of games, from the Gay Games held in Hong Kong in late 2023 to the upcoming LIV Golf Tournament, with more sporting facilities coming on stream, ranging from the Kai Tak Sports Park to the Go Park Sai Sha. Hong Kong is ready to host more international competitions and games, and in the process, groom more talent and jumpstart the local sports industry. Some experts estimate the global sports industry, including fan engagement, sports products, and sports participation, to be worth $471 billion to $1.4 trillion, even bigger than your numbers, Roden, depends on how you do the metrics. Sports industry has spawned many thriving businesses, from sportswear, sports equipment, sports tech to sports wellness and exercise. Yet, fewer people are aware of the important role sports law plays in underpinning the development of the sports industry. Although Hong Kong does not have standalone legislation dedicated to sports-related legal issues, many facets of the sports industry require intervention by lawyers. Legal experts are needed to give advice, draw up contracts, or engage in arbitration or litigation. Sports involve many regulatory issues, including doping, betting, and discipline of athletes. Sporting events create many commercial rights, ranging from sponsorship to trademarks and broadcasting rights. Contracts need to be drawn up between athletes and their agents, managers, or their clubs. If accidents occur in a sports venue, lawyers need to come in to apportion liability and weigh on compensation. Sometimes a sporting club or an athlete could have a dispute with the governing body, which might eventually have to be settled by the International Court of Sports Arbitration. Such incidents underscore the importance of sports arbitration in resolving disputes. Possibly with all these multifarious legal issues in mind, China updated its national sports law in 2022. In February 2023, China's General Administration of Sports established the China Sports Arbitration Commission, establishing arbitration as the preferred mode of dispute resolution in sports. The importance China attaches to sports arbitration highlights the important role that Hong Kong Law Society can play in promoting sports arbitration and expanding its services. With Hong Kong people's sports enthusiasm fired up and mega facilities becoming available, Hong Kong is well placed to host more international games and competitions to cement Hong Kong's position as an international sports hub. There are sports enthusiasts in Hong Kong who strongly believe that Hong Kong, together with the major cities in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area, should recommend to Beijing to make a bid for the 2036 Olympics to be held in the GBA. I would not dismiss this as a moonshot. Indeed, the major cities in the GBA have many world-class sporting facilities. Several cities, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong, just to name a few, have considerable experience of organizing international competitions from the Asian Games, National Games, World University Games to the Olympic Games. In the GBA, neither facilities nor experience of hosting major international games is lacking. Hong Kong's ability to organize world-class sporting competitions will be tested again next year when Hong Kong will host 8 sporting competitions as part of the 2025 National Games. With the experience Hong Kong has gained and the facilities available, Hong Kong should seriously consider making a recommendation to the central authorities that the Greater Bay Area, including Hong Kong, should hold the first Belt and Road Games in 2027 after the successful conclusion of the 2025 National Games and the 2026 Asian Games. International sporting competitions strengthen bonding and friendship between participating states, spur athletes to reach new heights, enable new stars to be born and new games and competition to be created. If Hong Kong plays a part in ushering in the Belt and Road Games, Hong Kong will be able to propose the addition of new games, whether it be dragon boat race or playing mahjong. A Belt and Road Games Secretariat could be established in Hong Kong. Holding the Belt and Road Games in Hong Kong will provide a tremendous boost to the local sports industries, as well as to the local retail and catering sectors, and of course, tourism. I hope I won't be laughed off for dreaming too big, but life would be boring without dreams. As the saying goes, no risk, no rewards, no guts, no glory. No innovations if there is no diving into the unknown. It remains for me to thank you for listening. I wish you a very fruitful day ahead, and I do hope Hong Kong hosting Belt and Road Games will become a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Yip. Please remain on stage as our president will come onto the stage and present a souvenir to you as a token of appreciation.
The Legal Panda is a mascot of the Law Society of Hong Kong. This is a limited edition of the Legal Panda specially made for this sports law event. Thank you, Mrs. Yip. Please be. Let's have another quick picture. Thank you, Mrs. Yip. Please be seated.
Now, let's extend a very warm invitation to Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism of the Government of the HKSAR, Ms. Rosanna Law Sok Poo, to take the stage to give her speech. Ms. Law, please.
President Roden Tong, Mrs. Regina Yip, Vivian, gold medal winner of Paris 2024 Olympic Games, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great honor to address you today at today's Sports Law Conference. First of all, I would like to thank the Law Society of Hong Kong for organizing the first mega events or mega conference on sports law in Hong Kong. Today, we gather here to discuss and explore the enormous opportunities that the sports industry may present to both the legal profession and the business community in Hong Kong. I'm glad that we have such a big and distinguished group of speakers from the business sector, legal practitioners, and sports professionals, both local and from abroad, to share with us their valuable insights on various aspects of sports. Hong Kong has always been a city that is passionate about sports. Sports not only promote physical health and well-being, but also foster social cohesion. The government is committed to developing sports in the community, nurturing sports talents, hosting mega sports events, promoting professionalism and developing sports as an industry. Our commitment is evident in the increasing resources that we have been devoting to this policy area. In 2024 to 25, we are spending about 7.9 billion Hong Kong dollars, which is double of the annual spending of 3.9 billion some 10 years ago. Our efforts in sports development have borne fruit as we take pride in our athletes' achievement on the global stage. Last summer, Hong Kong athletes achieved remarkable results by capturing 2 gold and 2 bronze medals in fencing and swimming at the Paris Olympic Games, attaining the best results in the history of Hong Kong, China thus far. Vivian Kong is here today with us and deserves a big round of applause from all of us. Our para-athletes also won 3 gold, 4 silver, and 1 bronze medals at the Paralympic Games, setting our best results since 2012. Earlier this month, I attended with the Chief Executive of Hong Kong the Asian Winter Games at Harbin. I'm still overwhelmed by the achievements of our Hong Kong China team, which made a lot of breakthroughs, participating in curling and alpine skiing at the Games for the first time. Our men's curling team historically made the 4th place, and an alpine skier achieved a record 10th place out of a total of 58 participants. The men's ice hockey team also reached the quarterfinal stage for the first time. Although our athletes could not make it to the podium just as yet, I'm sure all of us in this room are proud of their success, and in particular, the sportsmanship, professionalism, and sports ethics demonstrated. As we celebrate our athletes' achievements, it is important to recognize that their success represents more than just their talents. It reflects also the values that sports can bring to our community. These values go beyond medals, records, and scores, and can bring a positive impact to the society of Hong Kong. Now, let's take a look at how sports can unlock important values for the Hong Kong community. First of all, perseverance is the key in the sports world. our athletes encounter challenges, including injuries, defeats, and intense competitions throughout their career. Only through years of perseverance could they finally reach the international sporting arena. Vivian will agree with me that many of our athletes had to cope with recurring injuries while they gave it their all in the Paris Olympic Games. Having gone through these hardships, our athletes deserve fully our cheers and appreciation. Their perseverance has become an inspiration to many, and the athletes are setting an important role model, encouraging our youths not to give up in the face of obstacles. This is the spirit that empowers us and makes our society more resilient. Secondly, we promote friendship through sports. Sports serve as a powerful medium for building friendship that transcends culture, ethical, and geographical barriers. It is through sports that people from around the world come together to promote mutual respect, inclusivity, and friendship. It is also through sports that we take pride in our country and foster a stronger sense of national identity and belonging. As our national athletes continue to excel on the international stage, more and more people in Hong Kong are rooting for them and sharing in their joy of achievements as they bring triumphs to the entire nation. We are particularly excited about the mainland Olympians' visit to Hong Kong after the Paris Olympic Games, where we had the invaluable opportunity to appreciate their sporting skills up close. As the public celebrated our country's achievements together, our national identity and sense of belonging to the country are fortified. Another important value that we recognize is the commercial opportunities that the sports industry presents. Investment in sports infrastructure, sponsorships, and merchandising contribute to the job creation and business development of Hong Kong. As we promote sports events and activities, we can attract local and international brands, fostering partnerships that can add impetus to our economy. To encourage the commercialization of sports events, the government provides matching funds under the MMARC system to provide incentives for event organizers to seek sponsorship from commercial organizations. By making the best use of market resources, we believe that the quality of events can be further enhanced, which will help attract more commercial players to the sports ecosystem. This is also conducive to the sustainable development of the sports industry in the long run. Sports broadcasting is another important aspect in commercializing the sports industry. Given the rise of digital media, the broadcasting rights of sports events have become even more valuable. The broadcasting of sports events does not only generate revenue and sponsorships, but also increase the visibility of our athletes and the sports themselves. The government's purchase of the broadcasting rights of the Paris Olympic Games and Paralympic Games last year enabled members of the public to enjoy the game on television free of charge and to cheer for the athletes. This undoubtedly has helped generate greater interest in sports in the community. Meanwhile, sports have played an increasingly important role in driving tourism in Hong Kong. Major sports events such as the Hong Kong Rugby Sevens, hosted every year, attracted hundreds of thousands of visitors from around the world, showcasing our city's culture, hospitality, and vibrant spirit. By positioning Hong Kong as a center for major international sports events, we strive to bring in high-level, high-profile sports competitions and support the invitation of star athletes to Hong Kong, which in turn promote tourism by attracting families, events, personnel, and officials, as well as spectators from outside Hong Kong to participate in major sports events. I'm sure that, like me, you are all looking forward to the formal opening of the Kai Tak Sports Park, KTSP, on the 1st of March. That is just a week away. And in fact, I just did 2 phone-in interviews about the Kai-Tak Sports Park this morning on top of the one I gave yesterday. And that's why I came in a little bit late, and very sorry about that. As Hong Kong's largest infrastructure ever, KTSP will fully unleash the strengths and potential of Hong Kong in hosting high-profile mega events and entertainment programs. Hong Kong sports team will also have ample opportunities to compete at home turf. Additionally, KTSP will help develop peripheral products, including merchandise sales, venue management, refereeing, training, event coordination, etc. We will surely capitalize on the world-class facilities in KTSP in driving the sports development of Hong Kong. We recognize the importance of fostering sports exchange and collaboration with the mainland. This year in November, Hong Kong will host the 15th National Games and the 12th National Games for Persons with Disability and the 9th National Special Olympic Games jointly with Guangdong Province and Macau SAR. Apart from attracting audience from the mainland and overseas to Hong Kong, the National Games series of events will allow Hong Kong citizens to participate in and support our team as home spectators. The preparation work of the Games is now in full swing. We will continue to leverage the opportunities to organize more sports exchange with our mainland counterparts. Sports is certainly an exciting area in Hong Kong that is full of different potentials. As the sports industry continues to grow, there is a need to develop a robust legal system that supports fair pay and resolves conflicts effectively, thereby promoting professionalism and accountability within the sector. The Chief Executive announced in the 2024 policy address that the government would support the industry to launch a pilot scheme on sports dispute resolution in Hong Kong. The availability of a sports dispute resolution mechanism would help preserve the integrity of sports and maintain a sustainable sporting environment. It is also essential to the advancement of sports development in Hong Kong, where a delay in handling of conflict may have a drastic impact on an athlete's career. My Bureau fully supports this initiative, and we look forward to your support and contribution to the pilot scheme. Ladies and gentlemen, sports have the potential to unlock a wide range of different values that enriches community and contribute to the growth of Hong Kong. The potential for sports development is truly immense. My team will continue to work with the sports, legal, and business sectors to ensure that the sports industry thrives. I'm confident that through sports, we can build a stronger, healthier, and more united Hong Kong. Before I close, I would once again like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Roden and the Law Society of Hong Kong for organizing this major conference, and all speakers for sharing your insights, which are essential for creating a brighter future for the sports industry. I wish the conference a big success and your experience here truly rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Law. We kindly ask you to remain on stage while our president comes forward to take a photo to commemorate the occasion.
Thank you very much. Please be seated.
Last but not least, we would like to welcome gold medal winner, Paris 2024 Olympic Games, Ms. Vivian Kong, to the stage to deliver a speech for us. Ms. Kong, please.
Good morning, everyone, and it is an honor to be here, part of the Sports Law Conference, and a warm welcome to all our visiting guests. Thank you for having me. Being here today reminds me of my struggling part-time JD, and I feel ashamed for not transferring the same kind of determination I had in fencing to finishing my law degree. My coach, Tavi, even gave me a figurine of Lady Justice for encouragement. She stands proudly at home right now on the bookshelf, and I try to avoid looking at her every day. It was a privilege to devote 20 years of my life to fencing. I love to fight, but I am definitely not violent. I want to practice peace and harmony, kindness and empathy in my daily life. But I enjoy fighting so much. Does that make me a violent person? So I asked DeepSeek to explain this paradox, and the following comforting explanation resonated the most with me. Your love for fighting doesn't make you violent. Violence is driven by anger, harm, or domination, while fighting in a controlled setting is about skill, respect, and personal growth. Your love for fighting doesn't mean you want to hurt others. It likely reflects a deeper appreciation for competition, self-mastery, and improvement, and the thrill of challenge. Movies, books, and media often portray fighters as heroes who use their skills for justice, protection, or self-improvement. These narratives can inspire a love for fighting without associating it with violence. But nonetheless, fencing can get violent sometimes. I get bruises, and sometimes there's blood. But so I became interested in studying law because I wanted to not only fight for or fence because I loved the sport, but I wanted to be able to fight for others, to equip myself with the knowledge to help maintain fairness, integrity, and accountability in sports, protect the rights of all participants, and ensure the sport's credibility and sustainability. In fact, we often think of the world of sports as a great equalizer. Sports is governed by rules and ethics that prioritizes safety, mutual respect, and equality. This aspirational idea is inspiring and reflects how sports could be a powerful tool to foster fairness, unity, and progress. But in the past 20 years, I have experienced and witnessed, both locally and internationally, injustice, unfair selection, double standards, fair play, and sportsmanship violations that could and would crush athletes' dreams and stifle sports development. In theory, sports rewards meritocracy, skill, effort, and talent over background, wealth, or social status, and provides opportunities for individuals from diverse backgrounds to succeed. Sports is supposedly accessible to people of all ages, genders, and abilities. Built on principles of fair competition, equal access ensures a level playing field, but in reality, we only have fields that are more or less level in different directions and dimensions. We would like to believe that no matter what the rules are, as long as they are applied equally and impartially, the playing field is considered level. Given scarce resources and limited opportunities, sports are not generally fairly offered. As athletes, we experience firsthand the impact of socioeconomic privileges in sports, whether it is the opportunity to compete or gain access to world-class facilities, coaches, doctors, physiotherapists, equipment and travel cost subsidies, or even a sports lawyer. There are many ways to make an athlete's journey that much easier. However, the diverse trajectories of athletes' paths to success captures the power of grassroots passion, hard work, determination, and how sports embody universal principles and values that resonate with us all, the kind of success we want to celebrate in sports. The true meaning of sports extends far beyond medals, good health, or entertainment. At the heart of sports is the principle of fair play, and achieving true equality in sports require addressing systematic barriers, legal barriers, and ensuring that opportunities are open to all. I am very grateful for the legal community's interest and commitment to protecting athletes and the development of sports sector. There is immense potential for sports law to promote fairness and inclusion in sports to help athletes become the best that they can be. Thank you, and I wish everyone a lovely day.
Thank you, Ms. Kong. Please stay with us on stage as our president is about to present a souvenir to you.
Thank you. Please be seated. This concludes the opening session. Let us now proceed to session 1, Sports as an Industry, Unlock the Value. Before we start the session, here are some housekeeping matters. There are no official tea breaks throughout the conference. Guests are warmly invited to enjoy the refreshment at their leisure. There will be a Q&A segment after the speakers sharing in each session. We welcome participants on site to write down questions for the speakers on the paper provided and hand them over to our colleagues. Participants joining via Zoom may submit questions in the Q&A box during or after the presentation.
The theme of session 1 is Sports as an Industry, Unlock the Value. It will discuss the interface between sports, law, and business, and explore how solicitors can support and benefit from the synergy between both contentious and non-contentious perspectives.
It is our privilege to invite immediate past president and council member of the Law Society of Hong Kong, Mr. C.M. Chan, on stage as the moderator of this session.
Let's give a very warm welcome to the following distinguished guests who will be joining Mr. Chan on the stage. Mr. Tarhi Abalier, Vice President of the European and International Affairs Committee of the French National Bar Council. The Honorable Duncan Chiu, Member of the Legislative Council, Technology and Innovation Constituency. Mr. Richard Keeley, Partner of Denton's Hong Kong LLP. Mr. Alo Lau, Associate Director General of Investment Promotion of Invest Hong Kong. Ms. Serene Yip, ESG Director of Alibaba Group.
Our moderator and speakers are set to begin. The floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you for your attention. All the VIPs gone, so we can relax a little bit. So this is an absolute honor to be moderating the first session of this very important sports law conference. In fact, our president, Mr. Roden Tong, has already said this is first of its kind in Hong Kong and to a certain extent in China as well. So very, very fortunate to be here. My name is C.M. Chan. I'm the immediate past president of the Law Society of Hong Kong. This session, we have a very esteemed panel of speakers, locally and very international. I'll introduce them a bit later. To kickstart, maybe I should set the scene first. I'm a very ardent football player myself. I used to, when I was younger, 40 years ago, I represented Hong Kong under-16 football team. And I'm still a licensed coach. I still do a bit of coaching of football nowadays. I'm still chairing the disciplinary committee at the Hong Kong Football Association. So every week, I need to hear appeals from red cards, yellow cards, etc., etc. So it's a very, very interesting job. So about 10 years ago, the Football Association, I was then one of the honorary legal advisors. The Hong Kong Football Association asked me to, hey, can you find us a law firm to advise the Football Association on all legal matters? Okay, so there are roughly 940 law firms in Hong Kong. So I I actually make a big circulars to all the members who's interested. And then we actually found out that we don't even have one single law firm provide comprehensive sports law or law relating to football. There are, of course, a lot of experts in litigation, non-contentious, contentious work, but not a specific designated legal department for sports. So, and then a few years fast forward, the Law Society decided to set up a sports law committee, which is chaired by Ronald here. So here we are. With all these input, we now have the first ever sports law conference. So in this very esteemed panel, we will be not simply looking at contentious issues. There are many, many other issues, non-contentious, or even ESG issues, which we will be hearing from our speakers. So enough from me. You're not here to hear me to babble on. So the esteemed speakers, I think they all have 15 minutes, right? We agree that we 15 minutes for each, 10, sorry. Okay, 10 minutes for each speaker. And then there will be Q&A. And like the MC said, if you have questions, put your questions on the QR code. This is a very unique opportunity to seek advice from the experts. Okay, so without further ado, our first speaker, Mr. Thierry Abalia. Did I pronounce it correctly? Okay. A very distinguished speaker, and very honored to have Thierry to come all the way from France. A round of applause for Thierry. Thank you. Thierry is the elected member of the French Bar Council and the Vice President of the International Commission. He has over 25 years of experience of advising event organizers, athletes, sports institutions, and companies, ranging from startups to international corporations and strategies, investments, sponsorships, event organization, and litigation, etc., etc. So without further ado, Thierry, the floor is all yours.
Well, thank you very much. I would like, on behalf of the French Bar, I would like to thank the Law Society of Hong Kong, and especially the president, Roden Tong, because he's so nice that he took part of his precious time yesterday to welcome Bjorn and I after we arrived in Hong Kong. And that was an amazing welcome. So thank you very much, and thank you for organizing this impressive conference. I'm very glad and honored to be with you today. And the president told me to tell you jokes, which is very tricky in an international forum. And I have 10 minutes to explain you everything about sport in France. So I don't know the future, but it's unlikely that I would achieve those two objectives. Let's try anyway. So I represent the French Bar. Just for you to know, we have 164 bars in France. It's a bit messy, so what we call the CNB does represent all the bars in France. We have 75,000 lawyers. Half of them are in Paris. So let's talk about France now. Sorry, I have to put my slides. Okay. So France Sport Organization. France is a peculiar country. It's a unique history and unique geography, so it's difficult to understand. Even ourselves, we have problems to understand other French sometimes. Yeah. So the two things about sport in France, which are striking, we have a lot of big events. We had the Olympic Games. You have to know that the Olympic Games in Paris were so good that it made Parisians smile. And I don't know whether you've been to Paris, but people are kind of grumpy there. And I would advise you not to smile on the tube. That is provocation, okay? So it was really amazing and fantastic. And we have the Tour de France, Roland Garros, that's current events every year. So we managed to organize big sport events. And with regard to results in sport with high-level athletes, I'm sorry, I'm bragging for the French because nobody does, so I have to do that. If you look at football and the last 5 World Cup, we've been in final for the 4 last ones, so that's amazing. Handball is 6-time world champion, men, women 2 times, 3 times Olympic champions for the men, 1 time for the women. Basketball, vice Olympic champions the last 2 Olympic Games against the Americans. Volleyballs, twice Olympic champions in a row. That's really impressive. I'm sorry I have to say that. Rugby, you know rugby 7 here. We managed to be Olympic champions. That was in France, so, okay. Swimming, you know Léo Marchand, judo, Teddy Ryan. So we have amazing, great athletes. And why do I say that? Because we're still a small country with 67 million people. So it's still impressive to have those results. And why do we have them? So I'm coming back to the unlocking the value, why and how. But what value? What is the definition of the value here? Is that the value for people or the value for business? Which are not opposing concepts anyway. So if you look at the value for people, sport is good on many, many levels. I mean, if you have many people practicing sport at an amateur level in your country, the country is just healthier. And in France, we have 1 million what we call associations with volunteers that would help children to do sport every weekend. They train them, and you have from 3 or 4 years old, you can do sport in any village in France. You have a lot of stadium, whatever you need. So it's very well organized for the nation as a whole. And then, and it's also very important to have those amateur athletes if you want to have high-level athletes, because that's, they start earlier, and then you identify the best ones and you made them go up to the highest level, where you don't have many people, obviously. So that's how we organize sport in France. Another thing which is more linked to business, I put on my slides, as you can see, flexible corporate law. With regard to business, you always need investments, and investments from elsewhere, international investments. And I wanted to underline that in France, somebody asked me once, how do you, if you need documents, only the documents which are necessary to buy a company in France, not listed companies, but any other companies, in France you need only 2 documents, 2 one-page documents. One is a form for the administration, 1-page form. One other is something you will write down as a lawyer, which just explain to which you transfer the shares. So with those 2 one-page documents, you can buy a company, whatever the price is. And then lawyers have to be fed, so you have to audit and draft a lot of contracts, obviously, because it's very complicated. But you don't have many countries when you need only 2 documents. You don't have to go to the notary, you don't have to go to third parties. With these only 2 documents, you can buy a company. And I think it's good to underline it because it helps people to invest in France. Last word about that, France is first country in Europe for foreign investments. Nobody knows it, but it's a reality. Despite all our defaults and our problems, an investor would spot France as the first country to invest in Europe. Back to sport now. Which button now? All right. Yeah, unlock the value. I gave you an example. It's not very updated, but you see the lines here. It's about football. And this is impressive. How the English, I don't know if we have many English here, mark my words, a French is going to complement the English. You can record that. It's very rare. I mean, they were so good. Look at that. I mean, between like 2000, around 2000, and 15 years after, they multiply the value of the football in England by 5. I don't know which industry have done that, maybe in the IT, but it's really, really impressive. So you could see the value of the biggest European football leagues. The value in England is far above the other ones. I cannot brag for the French here because we are the last one here, but it's really impressive, and it's hard work. And the way they did it is that they marketed the championship everywhere in the world. And they preempted the ground. And then we followed after, and it was more difficult for the other ones. So you see, and it was, it's a lot of work, a lot of, idea, a lot of thoughts, and they did it very well. They're still there now. That was kind of a long time ago, but the numbers are the same now. The other slide is about the broadcasting rights, in those first leagues in football. So you could see that England is far above everyone else, with 3.5 billion euro of broadcasting right for the Premier League, which is really impressive. And it's a good example of how you unlock the value by marketing, sports rights everywhere in the world. It's always striking to me. I have a good Indian friend, and he lives in Mumbai, and he's a fan of Manchester United. And I never understood it. I come from a village in France, in the west, in the Celtic part of France. And so my club is called Brest, and I'm a fan of my club because I live there. It's my place. And my friend is not from Manchester United. He lived in London a little while, but he's so fan, he could take a flight from Mumbai to Manchester to go to the stadium. And I'm always impressed by that. And they made it, by promoting the champion team and the way they played, which is always entertaining anyway. So it's a very good example of how to unlock the value, and it's a good example to study whatever you want to do with any sport. So when you want to set up, sport, you can look at two models, which are very big models. It's championships versus franchises. So it's very different. You see the definition of both. So franchise are privately owned and operate as part of a closed league with little or no promotion relegation. So you see the examples of where it happens in the world. And then championship-based system is in Europe, we have only that, I think, in most of countries. So teams compete in an open league, and where at the end of the season, the last four, for football, for example, the last 4 clubs in France, the last 3 clubs in France, will go down in second division. And that is a big risk for investors, because you're going to lose a lot of money by going down to the the below division, because you lose all the broadcasting rights, which are far higher above. And so it's a risk you have to take care when you invest in football, because you never know about the outcome and the results of a high-level competing team. You've seen Manchester City this year. They've been so high. They won the European Championship last year, which is the highest level in football. And this year, they're really struggling. And I used to say that high-level athletes, if they lose 1% of the skill, they don't have the gold medal. It's there. It's between 1% and 0.5% of what they need. If they don't have it, somebody will be better. So it's a very fragile balance. And then you have also hybrid systems, when you can see that they would take skills from both franchises or championship. I would say that championship is about people. I told you we have like a lot of amateur sport in France, and then when the level goes up, then it's normal that you go to a next division. The better you are, you go up and up and up, and then you qualified for the European Championship. So it makes sense to us. And then the franchises, you can see them in the US. They have only franchises, so it's easier for securing your investments. I think it's far more difficult to get the high-level athletes. If you look at how the US is organized, they manage to get them from universities. I don't know what they do before that, but it must be difficult to find that level with franchises. So both systems have their ups and downs, and it's interesting to look at both of them when you want to set up something. Yes, sport as an industry unlocks the value to whom? That's very interesting. I have just a football example. the football example is interesting because you've seen the value we've seen before with in England and everywhere else. It's like 5 times the value. It's like the turnover of football has been multiplied, I think, by 25 in 25 years. But where does that money go? That's a good question. And it goes quasi-exclusively to players because they compete with each other. So it's a lot of money, but it doesn't go to lawyers or to many other people. I mean, lawyers, of course, but so it's still good because it's big, but it's strange to see the money going to players and agents indirectly, but mostly players. So it's interesting to see to whom would go this added value. And for football, it's not obvious that a lot of people would benefit from it. It's still more because it's big, but it's not, you know, any other industry with such an increase of turnover would, I would say, feed a lot of people. And here, for football at least, it's an example where it doesn't. So I think it's interesting to keep in mind. So I'm on time. Okay, but I think I'm okay. It's very complicated in 10 minutes to go deep into those topics. So I wanted to give you, like, you know, examples to how we can think about them. I'm available for any questions after, and I would like to thank you for your attention. 谢谢都te.
Thank you, Thierry, for his very insightful discussion. I do find French people very friendly. I do smile on the underground when I was in Paris. I found no problem. I think very importantly, Thierry touched upon the model, the business model of franchises against championships type of model, which is partly adopted in China as well. You mentioned that in your slide. The China Basketball Association had that model. Very interestingly, we will come back to that point later. Another point really strikes me, the area is about the fan base. Hong Kong, because of its historic connection with the United Kingdom, there's a lot of football fans in Hong Kong. In Asia, in Singapore, you know, these former colonies. You will be surprised, you know, many of my friends are dedicated football fans of very small local clubs. West Ham United, you know, these sort of, sorry, not small, but, you know, people will accuse me. You know, not the big four. There's still a lot of fan base, not only in Hong Kong, but in China as well. Again, this is a huge potential which we can talk about. Anyway, thank you very much, Thierry. We definitely will come back with you. Next up, we have Duncan. Of course, thank you, Duncan, for coming. Let me just, Duncan needs no introduction, but there are many overseas guests here, so let me do a little bit of background of Duncan. Duncan Chiu is a member of the Hong Kong SAR's Legislative Council, our legislature. He's from the Technology and Innovation constituency. Mr. Chiu has been a driving force in Hong Kong's innovation and technology development since the early 2000s. He is an active advocate on I&T policies, a seasoned entrepreneur and investor. And besides his role in Legislative Council, Mr. Chiu serves various roles, including President of Hong Kong Information Technology Joint Council, Chairman of Steering Committee of the Research, Academic and Industry Sectors 1+ scheme. In the sports world, Duncan is the Chairman of Squash Association of Hong Kong. So Duncan, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. So that's the reason why I'm here. So I don't have a PPT with me, sorry. And, you know, I've been the chairman of the Squash Association of Hong Kong, China since 2018, but I've been involved in squash for more than 20 years. And last week, I had the honor to be elected as the president of Asian Squash Federation. So I think in Hong Kong that we being the office bearer of an Asian level federation, there are just 2 federations that, you know, Hong Kong is the office bearer, which is squash now. And squash, we have been the office bearer for the last 12 years, but not me as the president. And also esports. So, talking about squash, I think a lot of you must have heard about squash. And, Hong Kong is actually a big squash city. And, we actually have quite good athletes and results in terms of squash. And I was just looking at the result in the last few the Asian Games, because so far we were only featured in the Asian Games as the highest level of medal we can get. We will be in the LA 2028. We were included into Olympics. We thought we would get into the Paris Olympic in 2024, but in the last selection we lost out to breakdancing. Ouch. That's obviously breakdancing is quite big in Paris. So we lost out to breakdancing in the last selection round. And luckily, we got included in 2028 Olympic in LA. So we're looking forward to the first Olympic game for squash. And hopefully, our players in Hong Kong, representing Hong Kong, will be able to go to the Olympics in 2028. So the reason why Hong Kong is big, as a long culture for Hong Kong playing squash, there's quite a lot of squash courts in Hong Kong. And, we do quite well in grooming our local players. In the last Asian Games, we have 4 silver and 2 bronze. And the one before the Hangzhou Asian Game, the one in 2018 in Indonesia, we got 2 gold medals and 2 silver medals. And, out of 8 medals, gold medals that we get in Hong Kong, 2 were from squash. And we have 6 players in Hong Kong now currently ranked top 50 in the world. And the highest ranked player, Annie Au, she retired, but she ranked globally number 6. So we have a very good homegrown players that came out from Hong Kong. Last week, we have an Asian team championship game played in Hong Kong, and our girls won the gold medal. So we are the number 1 team in Asia. So I would say, we keep coming up with very good players in squash in Hong Kong. And our global influence in squash, because as me now as the president of Asian Squash Federation, and our previous chairman, David, he's now vice president of the World Squash Federation. So, making our influence globally in the sports. And, that's about it about squash in Hong Kong. I think I have to talk a bit about, because the topic is sports as an industry. So what is squash in the sports as an industry? So let's look into the 5 directions from the Hong Kong government. We have 5 directions for sports, right? I think a lot of it heard about it. Number 1 is 普及化, promotion sports into the community. So we're doing that in Hong Kong squash. We have subsidies program from the government. We do many coaching program building into the community. We started 2 years ago to give coaching lessons to kids at kindergarten. Because if you want to have good players, you have to actually really start small. So we start at kindergarten. So 普及化, we're doing that. The second thing is elite sports, 精英化. So sports, squash, we have been included in the Hong Kong Sports Institute as the elite sports for, I think, more than 20 years. So we get medal all the time. And we got a lot of subsidies from the Hong Kong Sports Institute to groom our players, send them out for games, etc., etc. So that's the second one for building sports, elite sports in Hong Kong. The third one is 专业化, professionalism. So that's related to what we're talking about here, sport tech, sport arbitration, sport science, providing professional support to sports. That's the third part that we want to build. And the fourth is 城市化, building Hong Kong as a major sports event hub. So that's also, we see we already have Rugby 7, we have many other sports events, the Hong Kong Marathon. So we'll try to bring in more sports events in Hong Kong. So that's a sports event hub. And the last thing is the topic today, developing sports as an industry, 产业化. I think that's the most difficult thing, for Hong Kong to actually do it. Because most people, you look at the chart we just shared, let's say for Premier League, how do you build sport as an industry? Having a widely spectated league, that's possibly one thing. But, with the size that we have, in Hong Kong, it's hard to build a globally recognized league. Second is you make sports item, sport wares, manufacturing item. We all know that that won't be in Hong Kong, right? The Li Ning San Liu Yi will be in China, and you have Nike, things, company like this. But it's hard to build a brand, sports brand in Hong Kong. And the third thing that you can build as a sport industry, sports star is a big industry. Look at Messi, Ronaldo, how much they relate to, So, we have like Vivian, she actually should be traveling everywhere and speaking for Hong Kong as a poster child for Hong Kong, instead of just, keeping her in Hong Kong. So she should travel more. I remember I was, traveling in Hawaii and, in Australia. At that time, a few years ago, Japan has a very popular, world #1 surfer. You see him actually featured everywhere. You go any surfing store, you go to Australia, Hawaii, you go to anywhere that has surf, you see that guy. He's like the face of Japan because he's the surfer. So, I mean, sports star is another thing that, that would make an industry. So the thing that we can actually do in Hong Kong to build sports as an industry, one, I think, event, as we mentioned, 城市化 and 產業化, it should be merged. So event could be one thing now that we have the Kai Tak sports part, bringing more global sports event that actually it's an industry, it's tourism, and you bring people spending, and it's actually advertising for Hong Kong. So I think event is one thing we can do. At Hong Kong Squash, of course we don't have event that fit 60,000 people, but we do have Hong Kong Squash Open every year, which is one of the top global tournaments in squash. We're the highest level squash tournament. We're bringing thousands of guests every year. And we have a lot of junior events. This is what I've been telling Rosanna, and the government bureau for a long time, that we should build more effort into junior events. Because let's say for Hong Kong Squash, every year we have 2 junior events. The largest junior events in the world are for squash. British Junior Open, US Junior Open, maybe Hong Kong and Malaysia Junior Opens. So all these Junior Opens every year, we have around 1,000 participants. So 1,000 participants for squash means 1,000 kids, and that means maybe 2,000 parents, because one kid will bring at least one parent of them, and maybe with coach. Some of them bring coaches. So a week of junior event, we have 1,000 of participants from everywhere from the world. They come to Hong Kong. Maybe around half, 400, 500 of them, they came from outside. And they will bring their parents, they bring their coach. Sometimes the parents bring their friend, and they will all stay in Hong Kong for a week. So that translates to how many thousand rooms, I don't know. But they live here, they spend here, they eat here for a whole week. But if you do a football game of 20,000 people or 30,000 people at our Hong Kong stadium, people come here for one day trip. Half of them, they don't live here. If they're from Greater Bay, they just travel back to Shenzhen or, travel back to Greater Bay. And, it's just a spontaneous event. And for a visitor event, you bring in, teams from outside of Hong Kong. Most of them, if the benefits, goes to the displaying team. But, it's not a lot of benefit to Hong Kong. So just think about it as building sports as an industry. What is the end up benefit to Hong Kong? So I would encourage sports events, and especially junior events in Hong Kong. That's one thing we can do more to build up sports as an industry. Of course, sports arbitration that we're going to talk today, sports science, sport tech, these are all also other things that actually Hong Kong can build up as an industry, and that it will come back to contribute to the development of sports. I'll just stop here.
Thank you very much, Duncan, for his insight using squash as an example. I think Roden is a squash player as well. I think we will have a lot to discuss. How to make sports and becoming an industry, because all along Hong Kong is a financial city. It's a small financial city with 7.8 million population. We always look at business as major, our major revenue. And all along, we only have football as a professional sports, horse racing, And I think 1 or 2 basketball teams in Hong Kong is also professional. And government is through the elite sports system actually take care of some our elite sportsmen. But as an industry, we are still at a very, very beginning stage. But just one thing that strikes me, Duncan. I remember seeing on television the Egyptian Squash Open, which is played in front of the pyramids at night, evening.
Yeah.
Such a spectacular scene. Can we do something like that?
We did actually.
Victoria Harbour.
I will invite you to our Hong Kong Open next time. So, I mean, we did that at the time. It's a global trend. It's getting more spectator. It's getting more into spectator sports because now squash we can play in 4 glass wall, but not in cement, and it's a lot more comfortable for people to watch, and it's more exciting. Last year, the Asian game in Hangzhou is beautiful. They have built 7 glass courts in Hangzhou. And now, for the global event, as I mentioned, Hong Kong's Squash Open every year is the highest level of squash. And in the world, there are 7 events like these at that level. Egyptian, the one played by the pyramid is one. And actually, China Open tried to play on top of the Peninsula Hotel in Shanghai. And, there's also a tournament of championship in New York that play in their metro station, which is spectacular. So we did switch occasion for our Hong Kong Squash Open. We tried last year at the Xiqu Center, West Kowloon. And before that, we tried at the harbor front of the Tsim Sha Tsui. And this last event we play in front of the City Hall, right next to the IFC. So we do try a lot of, outdoor event to promote squash, but there are actually very limited venue in Hong Kong we can choose for outdoor. So we try our best to showcase in different locations. Yeah.
Thank you, Duncan. Okay, next up we have Richard Keedy. Let me brief introduction to Richard. Mr. Keedy is a partner at Denton's Hong Kong. He has more than 25 years of experience of handling litigation, arbitration, and investigations for clients in highly regulated sectors, including media, sports, and entertainment. He is recognized as a leading individual in litigation, arbitration, and employment by Chambers, Greater China, and Legal 500 Asia Pacific. He is also ranked as a litigation star by Benchmark Litigation Asia Pacific 2024 and as a global elite thought leader for client choice by Lexology Index 2024. Richard, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, CM. So as a lawyer, I'm going to go back to a PowerPoint presentation if we've got the slides to come up. There they are. So look, many of us are here because we're either interested in sports because we play them or because we enjoy watching them. We heard earlier about the importance of sports on the economy. I just wanted to add a couple more statistics on that. Sports tourism already accounts for 10% of the global tourism market. And that is actually set to grow annually by about 17% per annum going forward. So the completion of Kai Tak, I think for us in Hong Kong, is very good timing because we are very well placed to tap into that market. But we're talking about how to unlock sports and unlock the value of sports in Hong Kong. I've set out on the next slide just some areas that we can see where lawyers do participate in the sports sector. And you can see pretty much it's anything and everything. We get involved in negotiating player contracts, sponsorship agreements, merchandising, corporate finance, dispute resolution and tax, infrastructure projects, data privacy. Now, later today, some of our colleagues are going to be talking about things such as intellectual property, dispute resolution, disciplinary matters and the like. I wanted to focus on just 3 particular matters where I think we as lawyers can contribute to the sports sector. And that's event management, data analytics, and reputation management. event management first. We already host a number of international sporting events in Hong Kong. Obviously, we have the Hong Kong Sevens coming up shortly in March. We host the Hong Kong Open Golf Tournament. We also host the Hong Kong Open Tennis Championships. These are all very well-known international events already. But all of these events require very sophisticated organization and management. There's a lot of moving parts, and a lot can go wrong. But that's where we as lawyers can contribute, because that is exactly where we can add value using the skills that we have. An event last year, I think in Hong Kong, demonstrated some of the areas where we can participate. So what can possibly go wrong in a sports event? So I'm going to talk very briefly about Inter Miami and Lionel Messi and what happened there. Now, for the benefit of Thierry and some of our overseas guests, they probably won't be aware of this saga. But in Hong Kong, as CM mentioned, we don't have much in the way of professional sports, but we are interested in teams coming to play in Hong Kong. And English Premier League teams come and play, Italian, Spanish teams come and play. Inter Miami came to play in Hong Kong in February last year. There was a lot of excitement about them coming. A lot of excitement in particular that Lionel Messi was due to play, and he just won the World Cup with Argentina. Unfortunately, when the match was actually played, he didn't actually play in the fixture. All that we got to see of him is, say, for example, the photo in the top left, him in a tracksuit strolling around the pitch. We didn't even get to see Luis Suarez either. Luis Suarez is the other player on the photo. Lots of fans who paid a lot of money to see Messi, Suarez, and some of the others were obviously very disgruntled. And salt, unfortunately, was rubbed in the wound when 3 days later Messi did go on to play for Miami in Tokyo. And the photo on the right is him playing in Tokyo. The reason why I mention this is that there is a lot that can go wrong in a sports event. In terms of negotiating the contracts, the appearance contracts, just one of the terms that is commonly introduced into the contract is a minimum requirement for playing time of the key marquee players, because those are the ones that everybody wants to see. But that's just one term. There are actually hundreds of terms that need to be individually negotiated and agreed, because the parties do need to allocate risk amongst themselves. And I'm going to go on to mention another situation which I encountered personally in the sports sector a few years ago. And this involved not just a player turning up, but an entire team who didn't turn up for a fixture. And this was, again, it was an exhibition match. This time it was an English Premier League team, which everybody in the room will have heard of. And they had agreed to play a friendly fixture with a Chinese team. Now, this Chinese league team was an up-and-coming team, and this was going to be a major fixture for them just before the beginning of the English Premier League season. So the fixture was arranged. Unfortunately, the club had just appointed a new manager, and the new manager, very high-profile figure, he'd just won the World Cup, recently won the World Cup with Italy, a quite temperamental individual, and the club had also just qualified for the Asian Champions League, and the fixture list for the Champions League was announced, and his club were playing in a qualifying match a few days after the English team were due to play. So he promptly scrapped the fixture. Now, the English team had committed to play, and everything had been arranged. And unfortunately, that ended in litigation, not between the two teams, but two companies had actually procured the football teams to play. And it was the decision of just one person, the manager, who decided that the fixture wasn't going to be fulfilled, which meant it didn't happen. And that gave rise to litigation. So these, again, are things which we as lawyers are very familiar with, and areas that we can help manage in terms of making sure contracts are properly done. We can't manage everything. We can't manage the weather. And coming back to Kai Tak, and the reason why it's such a useful addition to Hong Kong, is that a lot of fixtures in Hong Kong are affected by the weather. And there was a famous rugby game between Hong Kong and Japan in 2015 that was called off, and I've included a photo on the slide there. Because of torrential rain. Thankfully, Kai Tak has a roof, and we're not going to see that for major sporting fixtures. Now, we as lawyers can't easily deal with temperamental managers, footballers who don't want to play. We can't deal with the weather. But all the other risks that go along with a major sporting event, we can actually advise on those. So the more sports events we have in Hong Kong, the more there is for us as lawyers to support and contribute to those events. The other area I wanted to talk about, this is becoming quite a new sort of fashionable area, and that's use of data in sports, in particular data analytics, AI, and the like. And I've used as a photo to illustrate this Moneyball, which many of you may have seen. I think Cathay Pacific are showing Moneyball at the moment. You may have read the book. This is Moneyball is all about sabermetrics, and that is sabermetrics is the use of data in baseball, and how you can actually use that data to improve your team's performance. There was a particular, Moneyball is all about a particular person who Brad Pitt plays in the movie, who was the coach of the Oakland Athletics team. Now, his team was not one of the major franchises in the baseball leagues. But what he did in the movie, which is based on fact, was he scouted around for undervalued players using data, and he managed to get those players at below market contracts, and he managed to compete much better with the more wealthier teams. Now, unfortunately, he didn't win the World Series, and then at the end of the movie, there's a brief clip. But the Boston Red Sox actually adopted the same business model and did ultimately win the World Series. Now, this type of use of data, player data, is becoming more important in football, and Thierry talked about the English Premier League and how valuable the Premier League is. There are now 2 teams in the Premier League. They are not fashionable teams historically. Some of the people in the room may not have heard of them, Brentford and Brighton. But Brentford and Brighton have built their businesses and their position in the Premier League by using data. Again, the same model, buying undervalued players, below market contracts, so they don't pay them as much, but they sell them on at significant profits. And it's a new way of unlocking value in the sports industry, and it opens up new areas, of course, where we as lawyers are contributing, because the algorithms that are increasingly used to analyze this data, those are quite valuable intellectual property rights. The data itself is subject to various protections, and you can see going forwards there will be contractual disputes over how that data is going to be used. So again, an interesting area that I think we're going to see in terms of unlocking value going forwards. And then I wanted to, my final piece was about reputation management. And in this one, I was going to talk in particular about, this is on a lighter note, the effect of alcohol on English touring football teams. Now, this was a very famous incident. If you're English, you will know about this, if you're old enough, that is. Not many people probably in the room will remember the China Jump Club in Causeway Bay. It's gone now. It went 25 years ago. But England were playing, obviously, in the European Championships in 1996, and as part of their preparation, they came out to Hong Kong on tour. They played a couple of matches against Hong Kong teams. And as always with English sporting teams, they ended up drinking. And in this event, they ended up in the China Jump Club. And the top right photo there is, top left, is Terry Sheringham sat in the dentist chair. And the dentist chair was a particular feature of this particular nightclub. Now, this was before the age of social media, but you did have people with cameras in the bar, and then inevitably it got into the English newspapers, and there was a huge scandal about all the England players drinking before this important tournament. And this was the first international tournament England had hosted for 30 years. So there was a lot of negative publicity about the event. Anyway, winding the clock forward a couple of weeks, during the actual tournament itself, England were playing a game against Scotland, and Paul Gascoigne, who some people will remember, scored the winning goal for England. And the England players, notwithstanding the scandal that had unfolded, were undeterred by the adverse publicity. So they decided to recreate the dentist chair on the pitch to celebrate the goal. And that's what you see in the bottom left-hand corner there. So that's Teddy Sheringham with Paul Gascoigne. Now, I mentioned this, it's, as I say, a bit of a lighter note, but the reason, what is the legal implication for this? Well, English sports teams now customarily go on tour with their own lawyers, because the lawyers are there to firefight in case they get into trouble. So that is yet another area that we as lawyers can contribute to this growing sector. I suspect France don't need lawyers to go on tour with them, but you know, unfortunately, England teams do. Anyway. Thank you very much.
Well, as a very keen football player, I do remember Paul Gascoigne's incident, but I didn't know actually the history of it originated from Causeway Bay. So thanks, Richard, for this. We'll come back to the a very messy incident later on, because I'll tell you a little bit story. Personally, I heard about a father and son from Xinjiang province, big fan of Messi, Xinjiang being the very poor province in China. They spent their whole year's income to fly down to Hong Kong to watch the game, to see the game. And after the game, they basically, they would never forgive Messi for that. But anyway, we'll come back to the dispute side of that very intriguing incident. So thank you, Richard. Next up, we have Arnold Lau. Arnold, thank you. It's my pleasure to welcome you here. Arnold is actually with the Hong Kong government of Invest Hong Kong. He oversees the business operations of Invest Hong Kong's office in mainland China, as well as mainland and GBA business development, financial services, fintech and sustainability, startups, tourism and hospitality, creative industries, sports and entertainment, and consumer products sectors in the head office. Prior joining Invest Hong Kong, Arnold held senior roles in both public and private sectors. So Arnold, the floor is all yours. You're coming out. Okay, yeah, by all means. You have PowerPoints, right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, no PowerPoints. Okay, thank you.
So thanks. The guidance and suggestion by CM, I'm actually preparing my first 10 minutes as a speech. So thank you for allowing me to do that. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, fellow speakers. I'm delighted to address you today about Hong Kong's dynamic and rapidly growing sports industry. This isn't merely about the thrill of competition. It's a significant contributor to our economy and a key element of our city's international standing. Hong Kong already enjoys a strong reputation for hosting world-class sporting events. The economic impact is substantial. For example, as evidenced by the 2025 Standard Chartered Hong Kong Marathon, which drew approximately 15,000 international participants from 100 countries and the regions, representing about 20% of the total participants. This participation not only showcases Hong Kong as a global appeal, but also brings significant direct and indirect benefits, boosting tourism, retail, and local businesses. Hong Kong is set to host a series of exciting sporting events in the coming months. We recently wrapped up Hong Kong Race Week, Next, we will be hosting Levy Golf Hong Kong and the Hong Kong Sevens in March, followed by the Hong Kong International Dragon Boat Races, more traditional event of Chinese, in June. And finally, we anticipate Hong Kong's participation in the 15th National Games in November, where we will organize 8 major competitions, reinforcing our position as a premier sporting destination. This illustrates the sheer scale and potential of the industry. Hong Kong's sports industry has a rich and interconnected ecosystem. It encompasses everything from the athletes and events themselves to the vital supporting infrastructure. This includes the soon-to-open Kai Tak Sports Park, a world-class facility set to become a key hub, as well as sporting goods business, sports events management companies, media companies, sponsors, advertisers, professional services such as trainers, coaches, therapists, sports arbitration, etc. And the burgeoning sports technology sector utilizing data analytics and wearables to enhance performance and fan experiences. In 2023, Hong Kong exported sporting goods, including equipment and accessories, apparel, and footwear, valued at about 20.7 billion Hong Kong dollars, highlighting the significant scale and global reach of this industry. The majority of these goods were exported under OEM, ODM arrangements with overseas brands, and a notable portion, nearly 1/3, went to US and EU. In addition, the total retail value of Hong Kong's sportswear market in 2023 reached 21.1 billion Hong Kong dollars, representing a 34% year-on-year growth. All of this serves as a testament to the dynamism and potential of Hong Kong's sports sector. The time is exceptionally opportune for foreign and mainland investors to enter the Hong Kong sports market. The government is firmly committed to fostering this growth, evidenced by the substantial infrastructure investment, including Kai Tak Sports Park, policy initiatives such as an MMARC system, which provides significant funding for major international events, including sports, further create a supportive environment. In April 2023, the government launched various measures to enhance the MMARC system. These measures include increasing the funding ceiling for each event to 15 million Hong Kong dollars, and lifting the quota of MMARC events to be organized by the same applicant each year, and relaxing the eligibility of applicants for MMARC events to cover events organized by private and non-government organizations. This, coupled with Hong Kong's strong legal framework, ease of doing business, and access to financial markets, presents an unparalleled investment opportunity. The growth potential within the sector is very significant, with predictions of a substantial increase in employment in the coming years, which includes direct jobs in sports event organization, facility management, coaching, training, as well as indirect jobs in tourism, retail, media, broadcasting, etc. Hong Kong's strategic location, a great gateway to mainland China and the Asia-Pacific region, offers access to a vast and expanding market. Our world-class infrastructure, including our efficient international airport, ensures seamless connectivity. The growing emphasis on health and wellness further fuels market expansion, creating opportunities across various sectors. Our dynamic startup ecosystem also fosters an ideal environment for technology startups to secure investors and accelerate their growth. All these factors, combined with Hong Kong's skilled workforce and competitive tax regime, make Hong Kong exceptionally attractive for sports-related business. According to the latest Hong Kong Monthly Digest of Statistics in Sports and Related Activities in 2024, this sector accounted for about 2.2% of Hong Kong's GDP, equivalent to 62 billion Hong Kong dollars. And around 74,000 people were employed in sports and related activities, contributing to 2.1% of total employment. And Invest Hong Kong plays an important role in facilitating this growth. We actively attract foreign investment, offering comprehensive support and connecting investors with the resources they need. In last year, 2024, Invest Hong Kong achieved a record-breaking year. We assisted 539 overseas and mainland companies to set up or expand in Hong Kong, representing a 41% year-on-year growth, which brought in about 68 billion Hong Kong dollars in investment and created about 6,900 jobs in their first year of operations. Invest Hong Kong has been helping sports companies as well to establish their business in Hong Kong. For example, a US company that develops an innovative digital platform for basketball athletes to enable personalized training and skill assessments. Another one, a Spanish startup that creates an AI-driven sports streaming platform to allow users to freely stream various sports content. Both companies are now setting up their operations at Cyberport in Hong Kong. I will share more case studies later in the fireside chat, the real chat session. So these examples underscore the significant opportunities available in Hong Kong's sports industry and highlight the benefits of investing in it. So in closing, Hong Kong's sports industry is more than just a business. It's a key driver of economic growth and social progress. It's an investment in our future, enhancing our global reputation and fostering a strong sense of community. With continued government commitment and Invest Hong Kong's effort, Hong Kong is well positioned to become a leading global hub for sports and related businesses, generating substantial economic opportunities and enriching the lives of our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arnold. As explained, Arnold is from Invest Hong Kong, which is the investment branch of the Hong Kong government. And some very interesting insights. For example, I didn't know about the export of sports apparel. It's such a strong industry. But you know, my gut reaction is we in Hong Kong we don't have a lot of superstars sports in terms of sports. So for example, the ancillary products of sportsmen, which is basically non-existent in Hong Kong. Maybe we should ask Vivian Kong to start a brand of her own. But yeah, very interesting. We can definitely explore that a bit later. Okay, and finally, and last but not least, we have Serene Yip. Serene is the ESG director of Alibaba Group. Serene is a qualified solicitor in Hong Kong and also admitted in England and Wales. She is a certified ESG analyst of the European Federation of Financial Analyst Societies. Before joining Alibaba, she worked at international law firms specializing in corporate finance transactions, investments, listing compliance, and general corporate matters. Serene also serves as a vice chairperson of the in-house lawyers committee of the Law Society of Hong Kong. So Serene, the floor is all yours. Thank you. Are you going? Okay.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to join this panel on behalf of Alibaba. So as all you aware that there's other panelists here, they are personally really involved in sports. So at one point, I just wondered why I'm here. So I think now I know the answer is because me is the one to ensure the gender diversity of the panel, as you see. So for my sharing, I think the experts have talked about the policy and also law. So for me, it's something more easy for us to understand, I would say. First, I will introduce about Alibaba's ESG strategy, and then I will talk about our involvement in sports. And finally, is how Alibaba unlocks the business value of both our stakeholders in our company. So first of all, I'm not sure how many of you really know the business structure of Alibaba. Maybe some of you did listen to our earnings calls last night. Okay, rolling those off the head. So I think a lot of people in Hong Kong, I think, would know that we are deeply involved in e-commerce. And also because recent launch of DeepSeek, I think finally the market also noticed that we are actually involved in cloud computing and also the AI. So our core business comprises of e-commerce and cloud, so namely Taobao and Tmall, and also Alibaba International Digital Commerce Group. And we also have the Cloud Intelligence Group. And we also, operate logistics service. I think since we have 雙十一90咁樣包郵, and there are a lot of people notice that we actually have the 菜鳥驛站 everywhere now. And local services, digital media and entertainment, and other services. So for us, Alibaba is a very mission-driven company. Listed here, our mission, since day one, since 1999, we adhere to our mission to make it easy to do business anywhere. 让天下没有难做的生意. So, and we have also chosen two important parts for the strategic direction of our business. First strategy is user first. That is, we will prioritize user experience in business strategy, product design, to try to drive retention and repeat purchase. The second is the hot topic in recent time, I would say, is our focus on AI as the single most powerful element that will change and accelerate the growth of our business. So in conjunction with the clearly defined user-first and AI-driven strategies, our commitment to ESG is one of Alibaba's cornerstone strategy. So what the ESG means to us? So I would say it's mainly constituted by three elements. First is integrating sustainability into business development. Second, harnessing the power of technological innovations. And finally, third, building a stakeholder ecosystem. So set out the scene in the background about Alibaba and also our ESG foundation. So exactly what's Alibaba doing in sports? Because I think some of you would wonder, because on the ecosystem slide, right, there's no sports industry. So it's true that we don't have a standalone sports business as of today, I would say. But in fact, our various businesses have been actively participate in sports. First of all, Olympics. So Alibaba has become the worldwide Olympics partner since 2017. And we are proud to support Olympic using our innovation and technology to help evolve the Olympic Games for the digital era. So Alibaba is the exclusive worldwide top partners in cloud services and e-commerce platform services. So our partnership with International Olympic Committee, IOC, is built on the foundation of shared value and a common vision for connecting the world and enriching people's lives, which is fully aligned with Alibaba's mission and also our ESG foundation. So I think after Olympics, our fellow panelists also mentioned about Hangzhou Yayunkui. It's the 2022 Asian Games. So Alibaba's headquarters is located in Hangzhou. So for us, it's like we are having a mega event at home. So we were very excited to be official partner of the Hangzhou Asian Games and was committed to offer comprehensive digital support for the event. So Alibaba Cloud was the official cloud service provider. Taobao and Tmall was the only online sales platform for the licensed product. Ele.me, I think maybe in Hong Kong we don't use it that often, but it's like Uber, Keter. So it's the official online food ordering platform, and it's implemented various low-carbon initiatives with Hangzhou Asian Games. Flicky, Feiju, is our online travel service platform, launched quite a lot of tailor-made tourism products and services for the event. So finally, football. So Alibaba also took part to support sport events. So our international e-commerce business, AliExpress, Alibaba.com, and Lazada become official partners of UEFA Euro 2024. This marked the first exclusive e-commerce platform partner for a UEFA Men's European Football Championship. AliExpress connected with fans of football in Europe and around the world, while Lazada worked as the event's first Southeast Asian e-commerce partner. These platforms offer great deals on a vast selection on popular and trending products, as well as interactive games and other perks. So apart from the retail opportunities, Alibaba.com, our B2B e-commerce platform, supported SMEs to leverage the increased demand around the tournament. So I quickly introduce our involvement in sport events, and which have clearly demonstrated how we can make it easy for our customers to do business anywhere. So on one hand, we're capable of using our innovation and technology to help evolve the sports event in the digital era, resolve some of the pain points. On the other hand, sport events also offer Alibaba excellent scenarios to showcase to the world how we have continuously applied cutting-edge technologies to business and collaborated with our stakeholders to pioneer our new business models. So let's look at how we unlock business value of not only Alibaba, but also our stakeholders at Paris Olympic and Hangzhou Asian Games. For Paris 2024, Alibaba Cloud offers cloud computing infrastructure and services, support big data analysis, e-commerce, and digital media solution. Alibaba Cloud and Olympic Broadcasting Service, OBS, developed an upgraded broadcasting solution, OBS Live Cloud. So for the very first Olympic history, in the Olympic history, OBS Live Cloud has become the main method for remote distribution to broadcasters. So for cloud-based technology, it's actually a game changer for global media, which previously relied on very expensive international telecommunication circuits and satellite, also spent significant time preparing equipment for live coverage. So with cloud support, the broadcasting cost was reduced. Also, for Paris 2024, had a reduced broadcast footprint, with an international broadcasting center that was 13% smaller than Tokyo 2020 and 23% smaller than Rio 2016. Something more about shopping. So for Paris 2024, for the official branded products were available on the Olympic store on our B2C marketplace Tmall. Anybody, anywhere in the world could purchase Olympic merchandise online in a far more streamlined process than before. And with the debut of the Paris 2024 official licensed product, Tmall amplified fan engagement by offering a variety of cultivating online activities, like we invite sportsmen to do live streaming and having lively discussion with our fans online, an interactive experience. So such engaging and interactive online shopping experience was new to a lot of Olympic fans outside China. And something about tourism. Flicky, as I mentioned earlier, Feizhu, our China's leading online shopping, online travel platform, cooperated with Zigangsan Manfa Le Yaotang. So visitors could obtain travel information, buy tourist products and services by clicking the Asia Games button on Flicky app. And let us look at two tailor-made products that we offer. So for the first one is the top 10 premium sports tourism route, incorporated a number of sport competition and other sport elements. And some of the routes cover the same event venues of the Asian Games. And the map, Zhejiang's travel digital map, it was something my kids love a lot. So it's aggregated information on popular hotels, attraction, and other information of 11 cities in Zhejiang, and presented in a beautiful and convenient comic format. and tourists could obtain travel information in a fun, interactive way. So we have mentioned Paris Olympics several times here. I just wonder how many of you were actually there in person? Quite a number of you. And I hope that you did have time to visit our Alibaba Wonder Avenue there. So the avenue allowed our visitors around the world to experience the lifestyle brought by AI-powered technology and e-commerce. And in fact, such AI enhancement shopping experience is already present on Taobao platform. So we also have Smart Assistant in Alibaba Wonder Avenue. It is powered by our proprietary large language model, Qianwen, which features multimodal, multilingual, and also conversational capabilities. So in the picture on your right, bottom, yes, is you can see our chairman Zhou Cai walks the catway alongside his avatar in Alibaba Wonder Avenue. So to conclude, I just want to emphasize that Alibaba's journey of growth is marked by innovation. So we look forward to participating in sports events in Hong Kong, China, and around the world. And we hope to use our innovation and technologies to help evolve the sports industry for the digital era continuously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Serene, for her excellent presentation. I mean, personally, I didn't know about Alibaba's presence in France last year in the Olympics. But in general, I recall, I might be wrong, but I recall the figure in Qatar, the World Cup, where Argentina beat France in the final, by the way. The Chinese company is the top sponsor of the Qatar World Cup. The figure, if I remember correctly, is something like $1.9 billion US. So it's the top sponsor. So Chinese companies everywhere, basically, in this international sports event. And Hong Kong, being the only common law jurisdiction within the whole of China, we can actually play a much, much bigger role in terms of contract drafting, dispute resolution, contentious, non-contentious work. And I hope we can bring it out more later in the discussion. So thank you all for the excellent presentations. So this is how I'm going to structure the remaining time of our discussion. I've already received some questions from the floor online. So I'll be asking each of the speakers to answer those questions. Thank you. Very, very high tech. I'm going to open up the floor. If you have questions, raise your hands, identify who you are, and then you can ask your question. Okay, so without further ado, first question to, I'm a bit disorganized as usual. The first question, let me ask Thierry. In your presentation, you mentioned the Premiership. You mentioned the comparing to other football leagues, Premier Leagues in the world. Which one is the best model? Obviously, Premier League is one. But can you elaborate a bit more why they are so successful and what we can learn from their model?
Yeah, I think the example is good historically. But now the world is changing fast. So football, for example, I mean, starts to struggle to get the young people watching football matches. I'm talking about people between 15 and 18, right, in the world globally. People that are really used to social networks, that don't watch TV anymore. So my point is that, you can talk about history, but the new world is different. The next world is really different. And I would think that everybody has a chance to market whatever they do in that new world. So the way they did it was in a different world. It's good to see what was done at the time, because from a marketing point of view, I think it's extraordinary. But then the new world is very different. So it's not the same channels. My point is that everybody has a chance now, because the channels are different. So whatever you want to promote, you have a chance because it's different. So the more modern you are, the better you use the social networks, the more fans you're going to have, whatever you promote.
Terry, the general theme of today is we're talking about unlocking the value. But for whom we are unlocking the value?
Well, we try to unlock the value for lawyers because we are the Law Society of Hong Kong, right? I mean, that's the point. But as Richard said, but at a very English point of view where you have lawyers everywhere. I'm coming from France, and believe me, businessmen in France, they don't use lawyers all days. They tend to forget about them, and then they come for litigation only. So it's a very different mindset, different, it's not the same amount of money, although we have also big cases. But, every country has different ways of doing things. And then it's also a globalized world, so you have to, we talked about squash, and I think the example of the pyramids is striking, because it shows. And then you did also great things in Hong Kong or outside to show that, have nice venues, and you have to be very creative. And so we're talking about marketing, and we're lawyers, you see? So it's not our perimeter. We know it from the side. But in any case, you need lawyers to, we have a question on the screen here where you really need lawyers to better negotiate your contracts. Although sometimes it's difficult because businessmen will not let you to negotiate those contracts for other reasons. But unlocking the value is for lawyers first.
Thank you, Thierry. Of course, we have lots of lawyers in the room, but obviously for other professionals, accountants, chartered secretaries, you come to Hong Kong, set up a company to have a contract with your sports sponsor, counterparty. These are all things that we should explore more. But thanks, Thierry, for your insight. So Duncan, now we've learned that you are a good squash player. You are the chairman of the Squash Association of Hong Kong. You are an electrical member. What should the government do more to promote sports as an industry?
First of all, as a chairman of Hong Kong Squash doesn't mean I'm a good player. So I fell quite a bit when I was young. So so I love sport. I love squash, and I think sports is good. Just bringing in positive energy, and discipline to the kids and everything. So what should government do more? I think government should not do too much, in many sense. Having the private sector coming in sometimes will also help. Just providing encouraging a policy for people to be involved in sports, I think is more important. But I think it's really difficult because I did actually, you all know that we have a new regime or the renew the article for a lot of the NSAs in Hong Kong, the National Sports Associations in Hong Kong, and that's years of discussions. And Hong Kong Squash also, we gave in a lot of opinions and comments and suggestions. And I think sports, there is no one clear line because there are mass sports like football and stuff, and there are also minority sports. But in terms of the athletes, whether you play football or you play lacrosse or squash, you put in the same effort. So we should not discriminate among different sports category. But, for government also, it's hard for them to measure, how to measure success. Before, the only way to measure success is medal, right? You get medal, then you get more resources. But, some sports like football is actually really hard to get medal, right? But it doesn't mean it's not important. It's a mass sport in Hong Kong. Most people like you love it, right? So it's difficult for government to actually draw a line between, what sports to support, what to not support. But, one suggestion is, for us, any sport operator or associations in Hong Kong, we also need resources. We need funding to do all the things that we're doing. And how do you also make sure that the sports association are not using the money without any result or sometimes even for wrong use, right? So that's actually a big balance. And I always suggest, maybe we should leverage the private sector a little bit. Let's say for the sports association, if we get sponsors, which is quite hard to come by now, especially depends on economic upcycle and downcycle. And one thing we've been suggesting is, whether they can provide tax incentive for sponsors to sports. Singapore is 250% if you give donation to sports associations. So you get some tax break. That's one thing I've been promoting for some time. So let the sports association getting more private sponsorship will also help the association to have more freedom or creativity or things parameter they can work. Otherwise, because a lot of the NSA now, like even us, we have to rely on government subsidies quite a bit, and every year we write a proposal, and there's only that many things you can do. You cannot go outside of the parameters. So giving some I wouldn't say freedom, but more flexibility to the associations is one thing, because sponsorship is hard to come by, as I mentioned earlier. You have places where you have big sports company, that will help for sponsorship, but we don't have too many in Hong Kong. So, that's the one thing that I would, suggest to the government.
Thank you, Duncan. I have two quick responses personally, and see whether you have further responses to my response. Number one, we talked about elite sports system in Hong Kong. Football is actually suffering. The reason why is when I was very young, the football team actually can stay in the Sports Institute, utilizing the facilities there. But since the government put in place the elite sports system, they have a ranking. So if your sports team win in major tournaments, you have points. So you have to get a certain points to become an elite sports. And because football is such a competitive sports, Hong Kong will never do well in international competition. So football was taken out from elite sports. So we were never allowed to go into Sports Institute anymore, the football team. Of course, football, we have other resources. But something like basketball, very popular sports, Hong Kong do not do well. But because of this system, there actually is a downward spiral for them. So my first question to you, do you think we need to reform the system?
Yeah, I think that's actually the thing we just mentioned. How you measure success is not only purely by medal. If you purely measure by medal, that will lead to things like these. So how to be more inclusive, like mass sports people, a lot of people in Hong Kong, they're involved. And it's difficult to get medal, but how do we put in more resources? Previously, maybe some other resources were given to Hong Kong Football Association. Of course, the FA was also under some reforming, etc. And there are also emerging sports. There are new sports coming out where, they don't get any subsidies from the government. But maybe a lot of young people, they just like these kind of new sports. We now have paddleball and, esports took some time to actually get into the stage. And, at that time when we started promoting esports, the sport bureau would say, okay, this is not sports. And then we go to the technology bureau, they said, this is not technology. So we took some time to get esports to be included, which I was also involved. I'm honored chairman of Esports Association of Hong Kong. So, how do you actually draw the line between that? I think it's difficult, but we should be more inclusive to be not just measuring by medal, because that's quite straight at the moment that, the medal and international top-level tournaments, the results, also account for a big part of the points that the Hong Kong Sports Institute include. They will count. But having said that, our squash players, sorry for the time, for our squash player, they train at the Sports Institute. Sports Institute, I think they're doing a very good job. We mentioned sport tech, sport science. I don't have time to go into that, but we deploy a lot of sport science now, really help our elite players to really, enhance and improve. But, even Sports Institute, we only spent like 900 million Hong Kong dollar last year. I said only. That's all sports included, 900 million. And in Leshko last few months, we talked about one roundabout 2-kilometer road is 7 billion Hong Kong dollar, right?
Remember that.
So whether we should build a roundabout, which you already have, make people save 2 minutes and 7 billion Hong Kong dollar. And sports on the whole, for Sports Institute, is only 1 billion a year. So,
Thanks, Duncan. One more question for you, because you are on our legislature. The M-mark system. I know that you are sort of a laissez-faire person. You prefer the government to do less, but they do have a M-mark system, which is a branding system for those who are not familiar. How do you evaluate its progress?
I think that's important. Of course, we are benefited from MMARC. Hong Kong Squash Open, we got funding from MMARC every year for the last 10, 20 years. I think there are events like Rugby 7, you could make some money. You know, there are some events that you can make money. There are events also which are important, but it's difficult to make money. You know, like our Hong Kong Squash Open, where every year we have only like 1,000 guests. So purely by ticket and sponsorship, we won't be able to break even. So we need MMARC to keep things like these happening, where you maintained some global event, highest level sports tournaments in Hong Kong, and I think that is important. And last year they have a record application of MMARC event because they now allow commercial entity to apply apart from NSA. So the football event where we just mentioned with Messi was one of the first commercial event to apply for MMARC. I also have my opinion on that because if they're purely commercial event where they can make profits on that, whether we should support by government funding from MMARC. Yeah. So that is something the MMARC have to consider because last year quite a bit of private event, which I think they are for profit, and it's quite sure they can make some money and still apply for MMARC. So I also sit at the Sports Commission, where I have to be one of the members to approve the MMARC events. And I can say that I actually abstained from that game, from the Messi game. Yep. I didn't support the funding from government, but that's only my own opinion. But we have to think about MMARC is good, but who should we sponsor, who not, because that's government money.
Yeah. Better utilizing of government resources. Thank you, Duncan. Richard, so the audience are very interested in the Messi situation. So the question is, if there's one contract term that you can include in the contract with International Miami, in which Messi played, which clause would you include to prevent the disaster from happening again?
Yeah, thanks, CM. Look, that's a very good question. I'm not sure it's one contract term, actually. Again, as lawyers, we put in several terms to cover this sort of situation. I suspect there probably was a contractual term in there which required Messi to play for a minimum amount of time, because you would normally see these in sort of appearance contracts. But what the club will also probably insist on is that if he's injured, he doesn't have to play. And I think that was probably what they, in fact, I remember that was the excuse at the time, that he was injured. I mean, it was unhelpful, I think, for the club, but that when he got to Tokyo 3 days later, he was running around without any difficulty. So query whether he was genuinely injured. But I think the issue with Messi was perhaps one more of expectation management. When did the club know that he wasn't going to play? Because I don't think the club had actually disclosed to any of the organisers that he was injured. So if people had been forewarned, I think there would have been less of a negative fallout later. And he could have done something else. I mean, I know he wandered around the pitch at the end, but they could have done something else. He didn't just suddenly get injured that day, as far as I can recall. They could have made him available to meet people and do something else which would have had some sort of effect. So all of that you could potentially include in a contract. To say, as particularly there's a lot of litigators in the room, we make our living out of it. We know what's going to go wrong, and we provide contract terms to try and mitigate those sorts of risks. As I say, expectation management, something around that. An alternative would be, look, they are paid quite well to turn up on these tours. Perhaps if Messi doesn't play, then the club receives less money. I don't know, something like that. I think the difficulty for Miami was he was their really single marquee player. I mean, if you wind the clock back, some in the room will remember when Madrid came out in 2003, so that was more than 20 years ago, but at the time they had the Galactico policy, they just signed Beckham, Luis Figo came out, Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo played.
They're all there, I think, all the 7 stars there.
Yeah. And Roberto Carlos, they all played, and I suspect in that contract there would have been provisions that they all play a minimum amount of time. But then if one of them had not played, it wasn't the end of the world. I think for Miami, it was really all about Messi.
I totally agree. I mean, I don't have any inside information. I think there's someone from Football Association as well. So I'm not telling any. Sorry?
Is there a litigation?
What happened was the organizer agreed to make a refund. But it's a long, ongoing process because we're talking about 40,000 tickets, and some of them already went back to China. So a whole host of potential litigation, that's why it's so relevant to our talk today. But no inside information, it's all public information. Number one, the match is an exhibition match, it's a friendly game, not organized by Football Association, okay? They're outsourced to a commercial organization, so that's point number one. Hong Kong Football Association has a lot of experience organizing international matches, so they have templates. Okay, in their template agreements, what Richard talked about, the number of times the key players playing, whether there should be some retention money, that's all there in the template. I haven't seen the contract with this particular organizer, and they are new to the football scene. They haven't actually done anything to do with football beforehand. So that's the problem. The second problem, I totally agree, it's the PR exercise. Lionel Messi didn't even say anything to the crowd. And people were expecting, he didn't show up in the first half, so in the second half, all the audience are so anticipating he will get changed and play for the second half. Nothing going on. Final 15 minutes, he's still sitting there playing his iPhone. So people get really agitated, and that was really, really dangerous, actually, with 40,000 people like that. But I totally agree, it's a lot to do with PR and risk management. So that's very relevant to lawyers around. So think about it in your practice area, what you could have done better in this. So thanks, Richard. So next, Arnold, let me ask you questions. You are basically the only representative from the government on this panel. Same question to Duncan. What can the government do more, or what Invest Hong Kong can do more in terms of promoting Hong Kong sports industry?
Yeah, so Invest Hong Kong is actually the government arm who executes the policy and then do proactive investment promotion work in mainland and overseas to attract business to invest here. Maybe I can answer this question by sharing some of the cases that we assisted so that you know better. For example, one company so all these are in the public, so we can talk about, but for a lot of cases, if it is confidential, then we have to keep confidential. So this is a company called Weatherman. It's a US company headquartered in the US. Its main business is actually do sport marketing, so helping brands to promote their brands through marketing events. And on the other hand, they also do helping the star athletes to negotiate contracts. So you remember the movie, Jerry Maguire, so that type of business. So it has a footprint in 68 cities around the world. So through an acquisition of a company, that company already has a presence in Hong Kong. So they turn this presence into their regional headquarters for the Asia business. And then the reason why they're coming to Hong Kong or turning this into a regional headquarters is basically a few things. Certainly there is a huge market. And second, there is a thriving creative industry in Hong Kong, so a lot of talents doing marketing work. And also the capability of the talent here who can speak multiple languages, like oftentimes trilingual, who can serve their client well. So, and what they are trying to do here, as you mentioned, right, maybe Hong Kong there isn't as many star athletes as in the US or whatever. But here, what they are looking into is to tap into the mega events of Hong Kong, like Rugby 7, or many more, because of the opening of Kai Tak Sports Park, where we were able to help draw a lot of regional eyeballs or audience to come to Hong Kong. They can help their clients to promote their brands. So the clients are often the businesses, right? So this is what they are planning to do more by leveraging on the mega events of Hong Kong and also the opening of Kai Tak Sports Park. And with that, actually, since we assisted them last year, they've already, at this point, grown their staff size by 20%. And then we help them with a lot of publicity. So promote the company and then help them to do networking to the right resources that is useful for this company. So this is one example. Maybe another example, it's actually a league called East Asia Super League, EASL. So it's actually a league of basketball, right? Professional basketball. And then it was founded right before COVID-19. And then the headquarters is in Hong Kong. And initially, they basically draw the top teams across Asia, including Philippines, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, right? So put them together. The reason they want to put their headquarters in Hong Kong is basically the location. So it's easier for them to really manage the multiple markets they have in East Asia. And also a lot of things that is very true for a business, like the low tax regime, the easy to access capital, so on and so forth, and also the robust legal system here in Hong Kong. So right now, they've already grown their teams from inception of 8 teams to now 10 teams already. So by including one team from Hong Kong called Eastern, Hong Kong Dongfang, and then another team from Macau, it's called Macau Black Bears. Yeah. So, and then they have a plan by tapping into a bigger market like GBA in vicinity to Hong Kong. They have a plan this year to grow the team from 10 to 16 teams. So they're very confident about what the market can bring to them. So we basically, as a government department, will continue to show them where are the opportunities and what are the resources, and the system can allow them to thrive their business through using Hong Kong.
Thank you, Arnold. I mean, the last example is really impressive. Like I said, Hong Kong is not famous for its sports scene, but creating a new league to base in Hong Kong. And I think the Hong Kong team did quite well as well. I can't remember. They didn't win the championship last year, but they did quite well. That's something really eye-opening, for lawyers like us, because when you have the headquarters in Hong Kong, number one, you need lawyers from Hong Kong. Number two, you need company secretary, you need accountants, you need all the resources from Hong Kong to support this league. So very, very good example. Thanks, Arnold, and your good work. So turning to Serene. We're not here to dissect your company, Alibaba, but I think it's a very good opportunity to show us how Alibaba is doing in terms of sustainability, in terms of inclusiveness. Can you tell us a bit more, especially from the sports angle?
I think first of all, I would like to give a quick response to like how private enterprise can involve in business, sports industry. I think one very important thing is maybe during when economic is not doing very well, maybe financial sponsorship may not be that easy. But I think a lot of companies, just like us, when we look at like sponsoring an event or getting involved in an event, is what's the value creation, right? Because for us, it's okay, we want to try to identify the problem and then provide solution to add value. So I think just like the cases that I showed earlier, maybe like their partnership, like technological innovation support is very important. So quick response to the question is, as I mentioned earlier, maybe like the cloud service is actually a very good demonstration. Is cloud now broadcasting can really save energy. And also we have quite a lot of technology, like we have a cloud product called Energy Expert. It's a sustainability SaaS platform. Actually, you can use it to keep track of the electricity consumption, and then you can have all the real-time data so that you know how you can make good use of energy. And also just one quick response to the inclusion is we do use a lot of AI product. For example, during Asia Games, also there's an Asia Para Game. So in fact, we have used our AI to build a virtual sign language interpreter. So for all the hearing impaired participants, so that they can take part in the sports and also travel around in Zhejiang province very safely. So I think it's a good demonstration how the company can make use of the business case, demonstrate it, and also show the world how we can add value. Thank you.
Thank you, Serene. Like I said, we are not here to promote a particular company, but we all know that Alibaba also announced their AI model recently, apparently on par with DeepSeek, or even better. So that's very, very useful. And I should have declared interest. I'm a shareholder, and the share price is going up as we speak. I think we have time for one last question, which is on the screen in Chinese.
There's a lot of questions
President has a question. Come on, go on.
Not just me. You see, the Deputy Secretary of Justice just arrived.
Thank you. A round of applause for Deputy Secretary of Justice, Mr. Horace Chang.
And you know, he's also a keen footballer, like you, maybe. So Terry, so I met you in Paris last time. So I participated in one of your sessions in the sports law conference. I think initially you mentioned a couple of things in the sports document, including any money laundering, remember? Yeah. So can you share with us, I think you mentioned about it's quite difficult to tackle this issue. In Hong Kong, we also have to follow the FATF rules, which is the chairman is next to you, is IPP. So I would like to ask you about from the any money laundering perspective, how do you see that with sports law? How can we tackle it?
Well, that's a difficult one. Yeah, what I mentioned in Paris when we were there is that the sport, not industry, but we had like investigations, not investigations, but people were focusing on sport for money laundering. So they said, we learned, because I was in the council in Paris, and we're very focused on those issues for lawyers, because they would come and investigate people, but that was before, and they said, we want you to look at people that work in the sport industry, because we have warnings there. So that there are, and problem is for lawyers is that we don't know what they do, we don't know, I mean, obviously you not follow the money. You're not a bank. My point is that you don't have many means to know what your clients do with money. And when you do international, business, it's very difficult. And so it's very complicated for lawyers to be involved there. It's only constraints. You don't really know what they want. It's just a trend that tell you that they're gonna maybe investigate that industry and be careful with your lawyers. What does it mean? Don't really know. The thing that, I mean, that's a very personal point of view. It stays between us. I'm a lawyer. I'm not a policeman. I'm not a banker. They have to deal with that, and I don't have to be involved, because if I am involved, I have to denounce my clients. And my DNA is exactly the opposite. So it's complicated. And when I say that to every lawyer in France, they say, you're too late because we lost that battle. I say, yeah, fine, but what could I do? Because, they have this pressure. And me, with my clients, I have no problems. And what lawyers do, actually, from a practical point of view, with those issues, what they do? If they have any doubt, they don't work. They don't take the clients. With a little bit of doubt, they just escape the discussion and say, we can't work with you with a good excuse. So that's why, I mean, in France, to give you an example, in France, the government is complaining about the lawyers because they don't denounce their client. In 2023, they had 2 cases. With notaries, accountants, they have thousands of cases. And what I don't understand is that they don't understand that we can't do it. From a structural point of view, I mean, you better not work with someone that work with him, see what they do, and go to the government and say, oh, that's my client. How could you know anyway? Unless he tells you in the face that, hey guys, I'm laundering money here. So it's a very tricky issue, because the government, they have to do their job, and we're like opposing parties there. And in France, at least, they complain about the lawyers because we don't have cases for them, which is a bit strange. So, and it's the same with sport. And sport is very international. So we just knew that they were focusing on that area. And then we warned lawyers. The council in Paris said, be careful. And then you never know in the detail what could happen with one case, or we don't really know. So it's very difficult for lawyers, I think.
I think at least I can think of two scenarios that lawyers are involved in AML, anti-money laundering in sports. Number one is Hong Kong. Unfortunately, we have game fixing as well. There were some arrests only last year, some young football players. We're very sad, in fact, those cases. They were only paid something like 10,000 Hong Kongs, which is less than a few thousand US dollars, to fix a game, to participate in game fixing. And they were arrested by the ICAC, the Independent Commission Agency Against Corruption in Hong Kong, a law enforcement agency. It happens from time to time. Like I said, only last year we had.
If I can make you, you know, we had that in France with handball, with the two biggest stars 7 years ago. And it's very strange because they escaped everything. They were condemned by a court, criminal court, like they were fined. So they were, you know, I mean, it was a clear case of, you know, I mean, trying to influence bets, and they did. And what is striking, and everybody forgot about it. And those people were at the Olympics, the last Olympic Games, playing on the field. And they are stars, and they have a lot of sponsors. And in terms of PR, they managed to sort of erase everything. Because I'm a lawyer, I remember, but nobody remembers that. So they were condemned for that at a very high level, very, you know, prominent stars in France, and everybody forgot about it. So too good, very good for them, but it's strange. So it happens, and it was not a small case. It was a big case, so it happens everywhere.
I mean, it's half jokingly, people are saying that in Hong Kong, players participating in game fixing is very difficult to detect because they are really poor. You know, you deliberately let in a goal, but they were so poor, so it's very difficult to detect. Anyway, half
AI helps here.
Half jokingly. The second scenario, which lawyers are involved in anti-money laundering, is people buying football clubs. That happens in the Premier League as well. Look at Chelsea, Abramovich. You know, whether the source of funding is clean. So very difficult. I don't know, Richard, you knew anything about those scenarios? How do they do due diligence, things like that?
Yeah, actually, I know very little about this. I've never bought a football club, but I think, Thierry, you actually do a lecture series on buying a football club. Is it in Madrid? Is it?
Yeah, in Madrid, yeah.
Yeah. Look, in the Premier League, look, there is a fit and proper person test, in theory, for buying a football club. But I think that seems to be honoured in the breach more than the observance. And a lot of the clubs are now, I mean, Chelsea was sold to a US owner. A lot of the clubs are US owned. The examples I gave in my presentation, Brighton and Brentford, are probably two unique clubs that are British owned, actually, because most of it is foreign money. Manchester City, of course, is Abu Dhabi, and the list goes on. Yeah, so look, in theory, there are meant to be controls, and the government is planning to introduce a government regulator for the football industry in the UK. It's very controversial, but one of the issues is going to be who owns the clubs and where is the money coming from, because at the moment, I don't think the controls are there as things stand.
Thank you, Richard. I think time is almost out. I have one final question on the screen, which I really want to touch upon, because it's about sports arbitration. So I don't know whether anyone on the panel want to respond, or the president himself want to respond to this. The question in Chinese is saying that there are alternative dispute resolution mechanism for sports. In Hong Kong, is between Hong Kong and Singapore. How do we make Hong Kong more attractive? And can you briefly explain the sports arbitration mechanism in Hong Kong? And DSJ is here, so maybe you can listen to the Deputy Secretary of Justice a bit later on about the development.
DSJ is going to speak on it.
Yeah, I know. So wait on that. But can someone want to say something about sports arbitration in Hong Kong? On the floor, from the floor. Very simple. My point of view is Hong Kong and Singapore has a lot in common. Both common law jurisdictions, both very small city. Both not very developed in terms of professional sports, but we are in competition in terms of arbitration, to be honest. But Hong Kong has a very unique advantage over Singapore. Hong Kong is part of China. One country, two systems. Hong Kong has entered into a number of reciprocal arrangements with China in terms of recognition of arbitral awards, including interim arbitral award, which is so useful, meaning that you don't have the arbitral decision yet, but you can actually apply to freeze the assets in China before the handling down of the final arbitral judgment. Singapore doesn't have that. So that's my quick response. I don't know whether the arbitrators here want to say anything else. If not, I think time is really up, and I really thank the thoughtful contributions by our very esteemed panel, and I hope you learned something, and I think sports as an industry has a bright future in Hong Kong, and hope this type of conference should do more, and this is definitely not the last one. So on that note, thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the insightful sharing. We now have a much better understanding of this topic.
This marks the end of session 1. May I now invite President Mr. Roden Tong to come on stage to present souvenirs to the speakers as a token of appreciation.
Thank you very much. Please be seated.
We have now come to the end of our morning session. Please remain seated.
Before lunch commences, ladies and gentlemen, we are very honored to have with us Dr. the Honorable Zhang Kok-Kwan, SBS JP, Deputy Secretary for Justice of the Government of the HKSAR, who will address us with a keynote speech. We will now invite Dr. the Honorable Zhang Kok-Kwan to the stage to deliver his keynote speech. Dr. Zhang, please.
President Roden Tong, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a great pleasure for me to speak at this lunch conference. This morning, you heard from esteemed experts on the relationship between sports and law, highlighting how it supports the ever-expanding sports industry locally, regionally, and globally. As the sport market continues to grow, there's an increasing demand for dispute resolution services tailored to address a wide range of sports-related issues, including competition-related disputes, contractual disputes, and governance matters. In the next few minutes, I would like to share with you the government's latest initiative aimed at fostering the growth of sports dispute resolution in Hong Kong. Over the past 2 years, the government, specifically the Department of Justice, DOJ, and the Cultural, Sports and Tourism Bureau, has been actively engaging with key stakeholders in order to better understand the needs of our sports sector. In the Chief Executive's policy address last year, the government announced the initiative to explore establishing sports dispute resolution mechanism and promote sports arbitration, leveraging the institutional advantages of Hong Kong in dispute resolution. Specifically, the government supports the industry in launching a pilot scheme on sports dispute resolution in Hong Kong within 2025. To this end, we have met with the 2 legal professional bodies in Hong Kong, the Law Society and the Hong Kong Bar Association, as well as the Sports Federation and Olympics Committee of Hong Kong, China, SFNOC, to explore Hong Kong's potential for establishing a sports dispute resolution mechanism. Through these dialogues, it has become clear that the industry seeks a neutral, fair, and efficient system for resolving sports disputes. Furthermore, during a meeting of the Legislative Council panel on administration of justice and legal services last May, the DOJ briefed members on Hong Kong's potential for the development of sports dispute resolution and sought their views on its future direction. Members of the Legislative Council and the 2 legal professional bodies expressed unanimous support for advancing sports dispute resolution in Hong Kong and exploring the establishment of a dedicated dispute resolution mechanism. To effectively implement the initiative, the DOJ has established the Advisory Committee on Sports Dispute Resolution, which I have the privilege to chair. The Advisory Committee comprises representatives from the Cultural, Sports and Tourism Bureau, the Law Society of Hong Kong, and the Hong Kong Bar Association. Their role is to advise the government on the design, establishment, and implementation of the pilot scheme. We held our first meeting last month to kickstart the preparatory work for the pilot scheme. We are actively gathering input from stakeholders on the design and implementation mechanism of the pilot scheme. Just this week, we met with SFNOC, and we will meet with the electrical members next week. Preparatory work is in full swing, and our goal is to launch the pilot scheme in the second half of this year. We will finalize the details of the pilot scheme and announce it after further deliberation with the Advisory Committee. Nonetheless, I would like to share a few preliminary thoughts with you today. In the coming months, we will invite interested dispute resolution institutions to submit proposals for the operation of the pilot scheme. We plan to appoint a suitable administering body to oversee the pilot scheme and provide institutional support for the conduct of the arbitration and mediation under the pilot scheme, including compiling specific rules, recruiting and appointing mediators and arbitrators, devising fee structure, and administering the dispute resolution proceedings. In addition, to promote a wider use of NORTAC and online dispute resolution, a technology provider will be engaged to provide the necessary technological infrastructure and support. One of the primary objectives of the pilot scheme is to facilitate local athletes and sports associations in utilizing alternative dispute resolution services. By doing so, we aim to promote a more accessible and efficient means of resolving disputes, ultimately supporting the development of the sports community. The pilot scheme is set to run for an initial period of about 3 years, allowing us to test the market, gather insight, and evaluate the need for refinement, extension, or regularization. We'll invite all of you here with us today, many of whom are dispute resolution experts, to support and actively participate in this initiative. Last but not least, I would like to extend my gratitude to the Law Society of Hong Kong for organizing the Sports Law Conference 2025, which provides an excellent platform for these important discussions. I'm also very pleased to see various organizations hosting events and training in sport dispute resolution. Industry participation, capacity building, promotion, and public education are crucial as we strive to advance the sports industry and strengthen the sports resolution framework. So may we all embrace today's theme, be just, be a good sport, and let's take a step further. Let us cultivate a culture of effective sports dispute resolution and build a good sports community that promotes growth and excellence. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Zheng. For the inspiring and insightful remarks, let us invite Mr. Roden Tong. Please remain on stage. Thank you, Dr. Zheng. Let us invite Mr. Roden Tong, President of the Law Society of Hong Kong, to the stage and present a souvenir to Dr. Zheng.
Thank you, Dr. Zheng and Mr. Tong. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you found the discussion thought-provoking and have taken some valuable insight from our esteemed speakers.
Now, a buffet lunch is served. Please proceed to the foyer outside to help yourself with the meal. Please enjoy. We look forward to welcoming you back for our afternoon session, which will start at 1:15 p.m. Thank you.